You're on camera. Say something.
Last night and night before, there was 3 women walking down the street that way. I saw them. I said, hey, you 3 women, why are y'all walking down the street that way? There's nothing down there. And they flew away. I said, oh, them were some birds.
If Cthulhu can be summoned by humans who are so far beneath it, why can't humans be summoned by ants? The answer is they should be. Well, if a bunch of ants formed a circle in my house, I'd certainly notice. Try to figure out where they'd all come from and possibly wreak destruction there. That's why knowing and correctly pronouncing the true name is so important to the ritual. Imagine how impossible it would be to not go take a look if the circle of ants started chanting your name. And they're like, you can't leave because we drew a line made of tiny crystals. Now you have to do us a favor. And you're like, well, let's just see where this goes. Yep, you got me. What's the favor? And usually the favor is like, kill this one ant for us, or give me a pile of sugar. And you're like, okay. And you do, because why not? It isn't hard for you, and boy is this going to be a fucking story to tell, these fucking ants chanting your name and wanting a spoonful of sugar or whatever. And sometimes you get asked for things you can't really do. One of them, she's like, I love this ant, but she won't pay any attention to me. Make me important to her. And you're like, how? So you just kill every ant in the colony except the 2 of them. Ta-da! Problem solved. And the first ant is like, horrified whisper, what have I done? This is the best explanation for higher powers I've ever really heard.
You realize you've stolen Jabba's personal sloop collection? You took our Slurpo, and Jabba needs his Slurpo. And then you go to Jabba's palace. Jabba the Slurpo. Jabba the Slurpo hut. If you steal the Slurpo, then we will give you 14 Slurpos. 13 Slurpos final offer. Wait, is Slurpo a currency or a person? Ever decreasing Slurpos. Why is she staring at Han Solo? She's who she wants to be. Please, I'm so close. Why can't I be Han Solo? And not some bland fucking brunette bint.
Could be Trump. Yeah. Trump. Oh yeah. Trump. 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 Could be Trump. Yeah. Trump. Oh yeah.
honest, I was not very steeped in the comics.
I didn't read any comics or do any research.
I wasn't familiar with the comics. I wasn't familiar with the movies.
We didn't lean into a whole lot of the history of the comic books.
Yeah, candidly, we were not enormous comic fans.
I wasn't super into superhero comics when I was a kid. I read a lot of like indie press stuff.
First thing I was told is don't read the comics.
Really?
As a creator, they put you in a bubble. They don't let you talk about any of the other projects, right?
You know, they're up for anything.
We ultimately decided to redefine it for the series and thought that it worked better for the story that we're trying to tell.
Did you ever read you've never read the comic?
When the DVD comes out, I'm going to read a Thor comic book and just see where we went wrong.
What do you get when you piss off the Japanese?
Mess with their history, twist it for fun.
Watch as your prophets are now on the run. Temples defaced, the backlash is loud. Even the prime minister's part of the crowd.
Stockholders panic, they scream and they wail.
You piss off sinking, abandon the sail.
Oompa loompa,
doopity-dong. Say your goodbyes cause your company's gone.
If you are wise, you won't play this game.
Or Japan will ban your name.
Engines are swarming, the damage is great.
Ubisoft begging, but now it's too late.
Paris is frantic, Montreal too.
Lawsuits are flying, investors will sue.
Panic is spreading, no one is spared.
Tokyo's empty, the office is bare.
Oompa loompa, doompity-dong.
What made you think this would not go all wrong?
If you are wise, you won't take the piss.
Or your stocks go down
like this.
Ubisoft dreams turn into despair.
Job listings vanish into thin air.
Nothing to sell and nothing to buy.
Too bad you offended the samurai. Oompa loompa, doompity-dee.
Next time be careful with history. You might have been saved with a little more thought. Now look at the mess you've wrought.
Well, I paid for the service, but the screen's gone black. Can't play a thing away to get back. All the folks online are gonna have to wait. Guess I'll step outside and accept my fate. 'Cause it's alright to be disconnected. A lot left that needs to be perfected. Might as well walk and touch some grass. Maybe talk to a gal, have a little laugh. Yeah, it's alright, unexpected, but it's alright to be disconnected.
Mama, we must run. The Wendigo Yakuza are here.
We'll be okay. We're not alone.
Where did we park for that?
Cider took it to deliver those flowers.
You all don't stand a chance.
Underneath the moon's cold light, whispers linger in the night. Shadows dance with subtle grace. Secrets hide in every space. Velvet skies and sapphire dreams. Cities pulse, electric beams. Lonely hearts in shadowed bars. Fading tales beneath the stars. We dance in twilight's tender glow, where time moves soft and slow. Eyes meet in a silent song, in the night where we belong.
Apparently, stranger danger is going to be the unintended theme of tonight's show. And here to help me relive some of the stranger danger memories of yesteryear is the lovely Miss Nerdigans.
Hi, Black Shirt Army. Today has just been freaking insane. Actually, this week has been insane, especially if you are in the anime manga sphere.
If you're in the anything sphere, it's been pretty insane.
Yeah.
If you've been in the anything sphere, everything's on fire. But way back in the day, we had other dangers to be concerned about. It wasn't so much tariffs and bad video games as it was Game Boy moms.
You've already been told about strangers dressing up in uniforms, but there are other traps you need to know about.
Hi, I'm just playing with my daughter's video game, but the batteries seem to be dead. I have some in my car. Why don't you come over and help me put them in?
Stay away from people in cars or vans.
That's right. Stay away from people in cars or vans. Forever. Not even when you're an adult. Only travel by truck or bicycle. I love this. I love this so much. The caption is great because it says Game Boy Mom would have had me kidnapped in the back of a van so fast.
Yeah, I know a lot of people would be saying that.
Oh, man.
Did you hear Zeno?
Yeah, even Zeno's going to be the guy in the back of the van, too. This just, believe it or not, we are going to unintentionally end up talking about this on and off tonight because wouldn't you know, it's an on and off theme of some of the crazy things that went on this week. The world is kind of cracking in half. On one side of everything, there's the chaos involving the collapse of the Western entertainment industry. On the other side of this crack is the financial industry that is kicking and screaming as it's brought into line over not screwing over the American consumer. And what do you know? Those two things continue to meet in thunderous ways across all over the internet as everybody and their brother has some kind of axe to grind with the current something or other that's going on.
But something before you continue, I do want to emphasize this because people have been like spreading misinformation about it, is that in regards to tariffs in Japan, yeah, there's an agreement where they can't tariff like digital goods. So if you're buying like digital games or something from Japan, you should be okay. It's just physical stuff that's that would be affected by the tariffs. But it seems like Trump signed something to prevent it from happening. But
well, yeah, Shiba gave him a gold helmet. You know, you'd hope the guy would cut a deal with him. Come on. You know, guy gives you a gold helmet. Jeez. But anyway, we do have quite a few people in the chat today. Hello, welcome aboard. Nice to have you. Here is a member of the channel, Ravul Arvita, saying, hail to you. RJ McReady stopped by earlier to say, Nintendo stirred the anger that was brewing for a long time. An industry trying to nickel and dime customers may soon regret that. It seems to be.
Yeah, but Nintendo isn't doing like microtransactions like Ubisoft and EA are doing.
True.
So
That's true.
Here's the argument that I have for Nintendo is that I know it's going to sound like I'm simping and whatnot because I do love Nintendo. But the thing is, Nintendo, for the most part, gives you a complete game. There's DLC for like Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers, but prior to that, you have a complete game that's not broken.
Those are either extra levels or more things to put in the current levels.
Yeah. The only problem I have is I heard that for Zelda for the Switch 2, it's not getting all the DLC included, which I think is a huge mistake to do, especially when you're asking people to pay like $80 for it. And also not have, if this was a bundle we were talking about with both Zelda games in there, I might feel a little bit differently, but we're talking about individual games, not having like all the DLC. I think that's just the dumbest thing Nintendo could do. But other than that, I understand where Nintendo is coming from. I mean, games in the 90s cost about the same, right? They cost like $60, $70, maybe $80. And then the price is lowered in the late 90s, 2000s-ish.
Yeah. It was the threshold of the technology. Yeah. And that's what happened is that the next gen graphic push created this large I wouldn't say like bubble, but it was pretty close to a bubble of games where like the prices of these things were like down in like $20 to get a hold of like the latest Sonic game, you know, because everybody and their brother had a game coming out at that time. And so we also have Leslie Tarkin here saying, "Hail to all you lovely people." Well, I'm glad you're obviously here. I appreciate you making yourself as obvious as possible. And Sakura Mita's here as well. We have Sakura Mita memes for a little later when the rest of the crew's here. Jacob and Spencer will hopefully be joining us. As far as I know, they will be. I haven't heard any catastrophe from either of them, but Spencer's computer tends to, well, I won't say it lights on fire, but it comes right close to it. Let's put it that way. So he does a lot of research, okay? So Dante Eriks is here as well, our reporter in the field, braving C2E2 very soon here, and the furry fury that inhabits those halls. We also have Kiyuki Aihara here saying, "It's a trap." Yeah, it's Nintendo mom would have had you in the back of that van too, huh? Don't worry, you know, for as kidnappers go, you'd hope they look that nice, right? That's like a CBS PSA kidnapper, right? It's not the real life kidnapper that's going to steal you. That's the CBS PSA kidnapper. Cornbread Man's here and saying, "Stick to Nintendo Switch if you can't afford it." Yeah, that is a beautiful statement, right? That's great. Like, relax, guys. We're not getting rid of the Switch. We know you're poor. What a statement.
It's kind of like with the Wii and Wii U situation. It's exactly like that.
A bit like that, you know. If you don't like the Wii U, we're not phasing out the Wii entirely yet. We understand this may be a complete miscarriage of a change here. So we have Zero Dozer saying, "I'm here while I wait for a full screen boss fight to start their stuff." Okay. Well, I wish them the best of luck with that. I don't know what they're up to. I hope it's cool. We have Johnny Ortiz here saying, "Hail, welcome aboard, man. Welcome aboard." And YouTube me made it. Welcome aboard. Good morning. Good morning to you. But before we get too far into this, we do want to acknowledge there is a bit of a civil war going on. One Piece fans are bared their fangs at Toei after a perceived slight against the lovely Sanji.
Yeah, this whole thread is like a straight up conspiracy theory that Toei has something against Sanji, and I looked at this and I'm like, oh my god, you guys are being really stupid about this. Like, you're talking to someone that covers manga and anime adaptations. I have my gripes with manga and anime adaptations, but I'm not sending death threats to the staff. I'm not doing any of that. No. Ask questions. Well, when I asked questions about Kakiguri at a MAPPA panel back in like 2018 and why there was an anime original ending and not the actual gambling tower, which would have been perfect, they said that that's what the director wanted to do. So yeah, the director has the final say in everything, and people need to understand that because they think that what?
I love these 9/11 was an inside job lines. It's like this is where the tower hit. This is where the tower hit Sanji right here.
Yeah, I know, right?
The second tower flew into Sanji.
These people are wild, man. And like the Zoro fans are going in on them too. It's just crazy.
So, as I understand it, this is all about the anime not living up to the perceived representation in the manga. Is that what I am? Okay. So their imaginations told a better story than what the animation studio put out. Is that what I'm getting?
That's part of it, but like there's also, they claim that there is a scene where Sanji that was supposed to be in it and it was skipped, but I think it was if you waited like a second or a couple seconds longer, Sanji did show up there. And this does happen too from time to time, I've noticed as well, where you have to wait a little bit to see the character that's supposed to be in the frame. See, that's the one I'm talking about. That's the one they're pissed off about the most.
See right here, this doesn't look like a Cessna flew into the Pentagon. This looks like a missile hit the Pentagon. this red square looks like to me. This is like a missile hit the Pentagon, not a Cessna. I don't understand.
Oh my god! But like,
I don't get this. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm too old. I'm too old, fellas. You got me. I don't get it.
Here's my thing. Like, I have my gripes with Toei. They treat the Saint Seiya series like crap, and I really wish they would free the license so someone else would take it. But One Piece, Toei is putting like the most into One Piece, and I think it's even more than Dragon Ball. Actually, they have invested so much in One Piece. Like, other anime wishes they would have this.
Yeah, I would say that One Piece is the royalty of anime. Goku didn't even get the Vegas ball. Remember that big Vegas Sauron eyeball thing? They put Luffy's face on it for like a whole, 4 months? It was a long time that was there. And Goku never got that, even when they had that movie come out recently, when Daima was a
when
big
Daima
deal.
and even Superhero. I don't remember if they did anything when Toriyama died.
No, not with the Vegas ball.
No, not with the Vegas ball.
Nope. It was One Piece is the only anime that I know of that has been featured on the Vegas ball.
And One Piece is having all these collabs with different sports teams too, and they've been on Times Square. And,
so it's like these couple of frames that are missing a main character in it, right? Okay, and even in the manga, there's like little doodled in the back. Even he's not like fully defined there. Maybe it's okay after 20 years of this. Well, it's 25 years now, right?
Yep.
25 years of this?
Yeah.
You know, like, come on, guys. Like, it's not the end of the world if Sanji's not like completely 100% manga and imagination accurate. Like, we're running into this now where we have these folks that are our age that grew up with manga being like sort of late introduction into their lives. So like you get it around like 12 or 13 where it wasn't like prominent for us. And then the Zoomers and the Alphas, they've always had it. It's been right there with the regular comic books. It's even consumed the space of the comic books used to be. So they've never known a time where this stuff wasn't like this. So I guess it just must be like a gratitude issue, maybe, where they just don't understand, like, yeah, the book's always going to be better, buddy. That's the old power of the decision engine up here. You know, your imaginator does a better job than the animator. It's not their fault. You just have an unlimited budget up here, buddy.
Well, it's also like the manga, it's a whole different thing. I mean, it's like a small group of people drawing it because you have the mangaka and then you have the assistants too. And they're not, they have deadlines and stuff like that too, but at the same time, they have a lot more creative freedom than, say, animators do.
And again, like, look at this. Like, you could end up with Blue Lock's animation style. And this isn't even like big, high-selling One Piece chapters either. This stuff that we're looking right here is just stuff that it's not filler, but it's not the stuff that they're like, we're gonna make an OVA about this, you know? They're not, that kind of thing.
No, they're not getting even like the beginning of the Yen's animation, which is just as bad as Blue Lock season 2. You're not getting like you don't have JC staff situation happening where they're like straight up butchering works of art. You don't have that happening.
Well, and when we look back, remember when One Punch Man got completely butchered? You remember that?
Oh yeah, it's getting butchered again.
Again. It never ends.
It never ends. It's because it's JC staff, and JC staff it wants to put out 10 animes a year. That's what's going on. Toei, you don't have that problem. Hell, Toei has a union for their animators.
Well, look at this. What do they want? What do they want? This isn't even a full like sketch. This is like a little tiny Sanji that's down in the corner of a panel.
It looks stiff. That's what I would say. Is it just looks stiff, and there's not as much patterns on the. Well, there's not as much. You see, Sanji in the panel is kind of leaning back a little bit with his neck, and there's also you have the shirt is not completely accurate because, and this is a problem that happens in anime adaptations as it is, where I think it's mostly to save money is why they don't do like all the pattern clothing and stuff that you see in the manga, which drives me up the wall. I hate it so much.
Well, you end up with that cell situation though, Nerdigans, where you got to draw every panel with 100 little spots in it that have to stay in the same space. Nobody wants to do that.
There's also the other thing that bugs me too is his hair. Sanji's hair kind of is it's too flat. It's kind of giving hair helmet. It doesn't have like that. There's not, first of all, there's not enough hair on his head. It's also like really flat. It looks like a hair helmet. And that's another problem that's in anime adaptation or anime in general, really, is that there's a lot of hair helmet realness happening, a lot of stiff motion happening. And how something else I noticed, I've been noticing a lot more lately, is they're slimming down muscular characters, which is very, very bizarre.
I gotta be honest with you, is I don't notice it. I'm just glad there's an anime. I'm sorry. I'm just one of those people that's like, thank you for animating it. I'm just grateful it didn't look like Blue Lock. That's all.
I'm very picky because I cover these. I've been covering One
Are you
Piece
kidding
since
me?
like
There's another
2016.
thread from March?
Yeah,
May of last year, rather? My
yeah.
God.
These people are obsessed,
This
and this is
is
coming from someone that is obsessed with this kind of stuff too. Well,
it's
and
like
you'll see.
Charlie. Well, it's like Charlie in the Wall with all the red lines everywhere. And this is where they picked over Sanji, and this is where they picked over Sanji, and this is where they picked over Sanji. You don't understand it. They're always picking over Sanji.
Yeah, it's the Circuit conspiracy. Like, you're not getting, Sanji isn't being censored like Pot Step is in Vigilantes. That is a bigger problem, at least in my opinion. But, and we'll get to that after this. Oh, yeah, the Dragon Ball Super Season 1 Goku was so bad. It was episode 5. It's either 3 or 5 is the one that sticks out in my mind, where Goku, you see Super Saiyan 3 Goku fighting Beerus. It was just ass. Pure ass.
Arguably, Super has really been the worst of the animation style, in my opinion. It came out of it with the Daima. Daima obviously had a very nice style, but it's like Super just drives me up the wall with how like this is how I. It's not only that, but it just feels like someone was told what an anime should look like.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
I agree
It
with
doesn't
that.
feel like someone loves Dragon Ball doing it. You know what I mean? There's no. It doesn't feel unique anymore. When you go back and you look at how Dragon Ball was done in the '90s and then in the '90s and then the early 2000s was Boo Saga, right?
I think
Or was
early
that still the
2000, that was
90s?
GT. If we're
Early
talking,
yeah.
early 2000s was GT. But the difference is between then and now is that you are using digital animation now. Toei's using digital animation, whereas back then it was more hand drawn.
Well, I would
and
argue
style.
though. What I would argue though is that what they're doing with the digital is they're adding too many shadows.
They're not adding enough shading. That's my thing with the digital animation that
Would
I've
you say the
noticed.
shading's not as harsh? Because for me, I don't remember all this layered shadowing with Goku. There was like a little shadow on the edge and then the hard, dark shadow around the edge of his neck and stuff.
But what
now
it
we've got
did,
all
though,
this gradient stuff going on.
but what that shading does though is it gives. I don't think people understand how significant shading is unless you're like an artist or you pay attention to this stuff like I do. Is shading gives the characters dimension. So when you don't see any shading in there, it looks flat. It looks flatter than the manga, which is wild that anime has managed to do that.
And you know, I appreciate the old style though, where they didn't have all that gradient face shaping stuff to it. It's not so much that I have like a nostalgia boner over it, it's that it feels more germane to the manga. So when you go and you start adding all these like shines and stuff to Goku's face and all this different
And
like
the hair
attitudes to the
too.
hair. Yeah, the hair has all this
It
lighting
looks so
effect to it
waxy.
now.
Yeah, and it looks so
Right.
waxy. And that's what I mean by the hair helmet effect. It very much gives like a hair helmet.
I see.
There's
Okay.
no
That's what
motion in it. Yeah, like where in Dragon Ball Z, you saw like the hair with Goku's hair was moving. It didn't look stiff. It looked natural. Or as natural as it could.
And now it's like a Lego
But
clip
Daima,
on.
yeah, that's what I mean by hair helmet realness is that you
There
get
it
that a
is.
lot. Another thing that happens a lot in anime is in modern anime especially is that the clothing has like no little to no texture to it. So it looks like it's like just stuck on their body. And then when there's injuries inflicted or whatnot onto them, maybe their face is screwed up, but the outfit is still fine, which is not good.
What I want to point out too is that we are going to find more like shortcuts in animation.
Oh yeah.
until AI is able to take over the really boring stuff consistently. You'll see AI around sometimes, probably not in big titles like this, but it'll be experimented on lesser known titles that aren't as high risk of pissing off huge sectors of the fandom. And so as it works its way into being more consistent, you'll see that in there. But until then, you're going to see more of these like, okay, the battle scenes are going to be where we put a lot of emphasis. And then the stuff where the characters are standing around talking, they're not going to be moving a lot. And that unfortunately is going to happen for a while. And it's not necessarily because the studios are cheap. It has more to do with the fact that there just aren't people. There physically are not people enough in Japan doing animation jobs. Now, there aren't enough people in Japan statistically to be getting those jobs. You can't just pop out a bunch of babies, hand them pens, and send them on their way. It takes a little while, and they also have to decide to get into that, and that's even more trickier. So animation in Japan, while very prestigious and respected, is not well paid either.
Nope. And there's also before I forget, a lot of it is money mismanagement from the higher ups. Because in the case of Mappa, from what I've been told, is Mappa invests a lot of the money into the actual talent, and because of that, they it leaves not as much money for the art and animation.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at what happened with Vash. What is it? Is it called Vash Stampede? Is that the new?
Vash the Stampede's a little bit different because Orange has always not had that much in terms of funding. I mean, Hoseki no Kuni in 2017 was.
I'm moreover pointing out that animation style, not their limitations.
No, that's what I know, but I'm just trying to explain that it's always been that kind of thing happening. The only thing that's different, and maybe so in Vash the Stampede, is that there's not as much.
There it is.
Yeah, Trigun Stampede. Thank you. The difference between that and say like Hoseki no Kuni is Hoseki no Kuni. Not only did they use, I think they used mocap for Trigun Stampede. I could be wrong, but they also use hand-drawn animation for like the grass or for the texture of the fur on some of the creatures. And I asked them why are we not seeing this on Beastars, where you think that there would be so much texture and fur? And they said at the time it was because hand-drawn animation, or hand-drawn animators, it cost a lot to use. But then you get what happened with Dragon Ball Superhero, where it turned out it would have been a lot cheaper to do 2D animation over the CGI, and also the CGI, like the animators were treated like crap. But
yeah, I mean, we had that Godzilla movie that did that CGI effect stuff, that CGI anime stuff from Dragon Ball Z Budokai.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I have a throat thing. Either way. The problem is that style betrays, I would say, betrays what people expect out of Japanese anime. And I'm not trying to be like dismissive toward Chinese animators. I know that we're not friends with China right now, but people on the ground who are like you and me and nerdigans, we're not out here fighting our country's like leaders' battles yet. Okay, we haven't been ordered to war. Let's put it that way. So the average Chinese guy is kind of like you and me. The average Chinese animator is kind of like your Japanese animator doing their best, that sort of thing. They do a lot of CGI though in their presentation, and that always kills their presentation for me. Like it's so abrupt, it's so ugly, and that's what Trigun Stampede does for me. Is as soon as I see that style, I'm like, I don't even want to entertain it. I'm not even going to look at it. That the worst expression of it is that Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man thing that they're putting out over on Disney Plus. It's disgusting. It looks like a PS2 game, and not in a good way. But this is like what we don't have with One Piece, though, thankfully, is that One Piece right now is a prestigious brand, and they will not risk screwing people over with this. These people that have a problem with this presentation right now are going to get even more angry when the CGI starts leaking its way into One Piece, because it is. They're going to have to eventually start tracing 3D models of these characters moving, because there are simply not. They're not even going to trace them. They're probably going to code it up to make it look like it's 2D, like they do in Gundam. Where it has that cheap look to it that I'm really annoyed with, that I hate looking at now. that kind of look. And that's what will probably end up happening to like the fight scenes. Like when you see Luffy's arms start stretching out, that's just going to be CGI eventually. When you see Sanji doing that helicopter kick with all the fire going everywhere, yeah, guess what? That's going to be CGI. You know, it's just one of those things where it's unavoidable at this point. You can't even put a gun to the head of Japanese people to have enough of them go in and do the animation necessary. People really, they're losing 1 million people a year, guys. I'm not exaggerating. They're losing 1 million people a year. That's out of 1 million people, you can say that at least 10,000 of those could have become animators. It's not ridiculous to assume that out of 1 million people, 10,000 could have become animators.
Well, I mean, Toei is bringing animators from out of the country here. I mean, there's Henry Thurlow, who's a Westerner. They brought in like French animators onto One Piece. That's something that's extremely rare. Like,
yes,
that's
and a huge risk, by the way, because Japan does not like that. They're not like we are. We're like, ooh, exotic. They're like, oh, foreigner. You know, and that's always a risk, 50-50 flip of the coin if the Japanese audience is going to tolerate an outsider interfering with something as precious as One Piece.
But something that's disgusting from the fandom, and I can't believe, actually, I'm not surprised that they're doing this, and it happens according to Megumi Ishitani, the One Piece fan letter director, who we'll get into in a second. Apparently, this does happen in Japan too. Japanese fans get really, really psycho. They do. Japanese otaku will get extremely psycho, and fujoshis will definitely get really psycho when their ship doesn't happen.
Which letter are we looking for?
Here, let me.
I've got Megumi Ishitani.
Yeah,
is that the one?
Megumi Ishitani, the director. So basically, you have Western fans attacking Sanji fans attacking Megumi Ishitani, who is the director of One Piece fan letter, and I think they directed like at least one episode of One Piece, and they had to explain this to a person here, to this person, that or let me read the tweet that they had first. This person said, Ishitani, aren't you the one who made Sanji get laughed at him in your fan letter episode? Even though the joke doesn't work since Zoro's bounty hunter was lower than kids, Law's Luffy's, he didn't get laughed at. And Ishitani had explained the reason why Sanji was laughed at was because the wanted poster drawings of him at the time didn't convey his strength at all, which is true. This is a thing in One Piece where running joke is Sanji's wanted poster always looks really off. The line was, "There's no way someone with a face like that can be strong." It depicts the foolishness of people who don't know the truth and get excited about rumors. And people were taking a lot of the stuff out of context, and it got to the point where Ishitani had to tell another troll that to leave them alone. Please don't say this to me, who is not involved in the episode. They're not involved in the episodes that are being disputed. And of course, to other staff members too. Please refrain from taking out your dissatisfaction with the whole project on individuals in the future. That's just common sense. I don't know. These Westerners especially have been like even more so toxic as of late. And they've
been emboldened.
Yeah, they've been emboldened. That's for sure. And might get even worse depending on Toei's strategy, because Toei said they are trying to focus on not just the Japanese market anymore, but also the Chinese and North American markets, which does explain the case of Saint Seiya, even though they treated Saint Seiya like shit anyway in terms of the live action. Oh god, and they still treat Saint Seiya like crap. And then people were telling them Ishitani to block them, and they said, "Thank you, but no matter how many times I block them, someone else keeps doing the same thing. So I finally had enough. I'm going to say what I've been holding back from saying too long." And it got to the point where it was just so awful that they just blocked. They just kept blocking people. But this is what really made me happy seeing this. Is that to one person they said, "Thank you for your kindness. I just wanted to say something back because I was afraid that it would only affect me not only affect me, but also other staff members. I'm thinking of blocking them all at once. And of course, I understand that not all overseas fans are vicious like this, just as there are vicious people among Japanese fans. It's crazy that Ishitani had to come out and say this. They shouldn't have to, especially since they're not even involved in the freaking episode.
Well, the thing is that they have to like they have to come out and make these corporate statements because in Japan, the social cohesion is utmost importance. So this isn't virtue signaling so much as it is following through with the Japanese business culture of I have to come out and make an address on this in order to illustrate that the company's neutrality on this issue is in play and that staff members are not to be targeted in the decisions in which the corporation is moved forward on. It's very Japanese to go out here and do that. So this part, however, where he's talking about vicious people among the Japanese fans, that's new. That kind
That's
of
not new. That's not.
Well, okay. I'm not used to how anime guys talk. I mainly pay attention to how the politics and business go. So I don't.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to like this kind of anime stuff, I don't. So it's new to me. I'm not used to them talking negatively about customers. That's new to me. So.
Well, oh yeah, well, but they are right though. There's vicious Japanese fans that will send anime directors razor blades. The creator of the Tengen franchise said that it happened to him too, where they were getting sent like I don't remember if it was death threats specifically, but they were definitely getting sent like razor blades and crap. And the other thing that they did hardcore otakus do in Japan is they will burn their manga volumes and they will just like trash them because they are so pissed off about what happened in the series.
Again, it has to deal with their own perception of it. Like we saw this with the Genshin Impact kids that lost their minds only to find out that no, it was actually just an artist's interpretation of it, which is so common in commercial art. It's ridiculous. There's multiple, like there's a whole line of Supermen out there that don't have they're wearing like some kind of like capri. I don't know what to call a shirt. It's like a 3/4 sleeve shirt. It's like a whole sleeve shirt. There's a whole line of Supermen out there that don't have like a whole sleeve. Okay. That happened. So like the Genshin character having one piece of art where her skin tone was slightly light, not even totally lighter, just slightly lighter than the original design that was released. Holy fuck. They're still mad about it. This is that kind of stuff. This is that attitude.
We saw it with Horikoshi too. We saw it with Horikoshi as well with his art, and luckily,
and when he didn't make Deku and Bakugo gay, everybody was super mad about the hetero pairing because God forbid Japan promotes the idea of having kids.
Well, I mean, I saw someone attacking vigilantes as well for having a toxic ship because Koichi is older. The main character Koichi is older than Pop. It's like, dude, that is the canon ship. Whether you like it or not, it's the canon ship. But in the case of One Piece, like these people are calling Toei Nazis. They're demanding that they want to see Toei get Kyoto Animation, like be like Kyoto Animation Studios and get blown up. And set on fire. Like these people are just so psycho. And they don't, this is a minority of psycho people doing this.
It's also going to keep happening. And I keep saying that, but as we go forward into these, the alphas and the kids that are behind them, I don't know what we're calling them yet. Epsilon. I don't know what we're calling them. But anyway, the kids that are behind the alphas.
Betas, you mean? They're the betas.
God, I hope they don't keep that one. I really hope they shake that one. It's just so bad. It's so bad. Anyway, wow. I'm a beta. My brother's an alpha. You know, oh boy.
That's awful. There's a lot of yaoi that goes into the betas and the
alphas.
No,
that's so bad. Oh, anyway, those kids. They're raised in this environment where fiction is reality, where representation is one-to-one to reality, where if there is not a character that is representative of a single person in a country of a million, that is a discriminatory act against that person in real life who may or may not be even aware of that media. And that's where this mentality around Sanji comes from. Is I didn't get it how I wanted it, so this is obviously a slight against me personally. The animators, directors, and John Toei himself are out to get me. And that's why they made Sanji look this way in these 6 frames.
Well, I sent this to you. I sent this to you, but Henry Thurlow, who's one of the American, well, now in Japan, director of one of the episodes of One Piece, came out, and I sent you the link there. It said, and he says, "Can't believe I have to even say this, but there's not a single anime production where the staff hates a certain character and sabotages their scenes. Certain animators might request specific scenes and not others, but the directors try their hardest to make the whole thing good." And then he goes a little bit further here. He says, oh no, my favorite character scene didn't have great animation. We all know the feeling because every character has both good and bad moments, but to think it's the staff's fault because they want to do this to the character is the ramblings of a syphilitic brain. And yeah.
John Toei put the phone call in. He said, hey, get a hold of those One Piece boys. Let them know. It's time to wipe our ass with Sanji, you understand? It's that one character. I don't even know what the Sanji character does. I just don't like that he smokes cigarettes. We're not going to make him stop smoking cigarettes. Instead, we're going to make his animation kinda suck. Not totally suck, kinda suck. Just enough to piss off a very lonely group of people who may or may not smell like cat piss. And it's just one of those stupid things that this people that convince themselves is that John Toei is somewhere in the world plotting against them. He's on a beach with a cell phone, letting everybody know to go get Sanji just to tick off this one guy somewhere.
Hi, Kitty. But there's one other thing that Henry said that I think is very important. He said directors don't have to follow the manga bit by bit and panel by panel. They adapt the manga for film / animation. And was Kitty, why'd you do that? Was the story drastically changed, like Sanji died? No, then it was adapted just fine. Well, this is true. They don't have to adapt it. Again, I'm going to bring up the Kakiguri panel, or the Mappa panel I went to and asked about Kakiguri. They said that, because I asked about the anime original ending, and they said, well, the director specifically liked these characters and wanted to have the anime adaptation of Kakiguri end this way, which really, oh God. If you want to know why I hate Mappa, that is exactly why I hate Mappa.
Well,
was when I got blackpilled.
Look at this guy going after Henry here, right? So they bring up this issue with, not having all of these characters completely represented here and why they're not in there. And Henry points out, this is a moving scene on the bottom. Up here is a snapshot. So that manga can have all this crazy stuff and all this clutter going on because it's not moving. So it can be crazy and have all these characters in everywhere and, faded into the back. Whereas if you go end up adding Sanji into the back, then you completely lose the space that you're in. And again, like it has that little tiny space to let you know that these people, where they are in the plane of the space that they're in. And there are also other characters that have been reduced or either completely removed from this too. There's a character that had a mask on that's been removed from this. There's a couple other ones that have been moved around. And even then, when they're represented here, they've been simplified from how they're represented in the manga. So it's one of those things where, like, what do you want? What do you want out of this? Do you want your imagination brought to life? Well, do drugs. That's how you do that. Do drugs and read manga. You'll have an awesome time. Probably illegal, but you'll have an awesome time. That's what you want, because anime is doing its best to bridge that gap. It's never going to match what your imagination produced when you were reading that.
Well, here's the thing this is my logic when it comes to manga to anime adaptations, is that manga is the blueprint, and what the anime is supposed to do is take that blueprint and enhance it. And that's why I say for certain series, like, for example, Record of Ragnarok, it's basically unadaptable because the art is so detailed, and it's the way that it's drawn, it really does look like the characters are in motion. And that's why I can't stand the anime adaptation for it. because it looks so flat, it looks so stiff. And I say that, and I've said this about Murata's art as well with One Punch Man, that One Punch Man manga is basically unadaptable unless Murata, or in the case of Record of Ragnarok, Azuchika is there cracking the whip. Because we've seen it happen before with the mangaka of Kimono Jihen, Aimato. They were like cracking the whip, making sure that the art and animation matched the manga, and also made sure the voices were accurate. And they even said in one of their author notes that that they probably pissed off the animation team. They're sorry about it, but like they wanted it to look this way. And I really would love to have more mangaka be active on adaptations like that.
Well, you remember when Demon Slayer came out, people were completely upset over how that was being drawn and how that was represented. And this was all that 3D stuff, and this wasn't truly given the kind of gravity that it deserved. And Tanjiro didn't look cool, and his father's design was less dynamic than it was in the manga, and blah
It
blah blah
happens
blah
all the
blah.
time.
Yeah, it's just anime.
does.
It's what they have to do.
This is why I really can't watch Demon Slayer, because I realized in the first episode, it was either the first or second episode, that that UFO table is just not good with anatomical art, and they are going to skip as many panels with that have like specific and really detailed anatomical art, and it drives me nuts because Katoge's art, if you've read Demon Slayer, you see Katoge is very detailed in certain aspects of Demon Slayer, as I said, like with the anatomy and of not just humans, but the demons as well. So when it's not done right, it's for me anyway, because I covered Demon Slayer from like chapter 50 to like the end, it really is hard for me to enjoy it. It's the same thing with the Elusive Samurai. If you read the Elusive Samurai, you'll see like how gorgeous Matsui's art is there. And I tried watching a couple episodes of the anime, and it just wasn't it. It just didn't have that same level of detailing. And that's why I will say with the Elusive Samurai as well, it's practically unadaptable because of the amount of detailing that these artists put into their art. But one thing that is adaptable, and this is why one of the many reasons why I'm pissed about it, is Betancourt's art in Vigilante Boku no Hero Academia Legals. The art for the most part is pretty good, and they even do comic book style, which for like the effects and stuff like that, it's great. But then you got some of the character designs are a little off. Like Knuckle Duster looks a little bit thinner than he should, and like his outfit is too clean, and he doesn't look as gruff in the face as he should. That drove me nuts. But then there's the pop censorship, which is a huge problem, and I really can't stand that.
Well, I want to point out too, like the Big O, I think has a manga.
Yes, it does.
Check it out, and I've seen panels of it anyway. I don't know. You say it's official? It says a real one?
Yeah, it's an official manga. Yeah, it's an adaptation of the anime.
Right, and so it went the other way around, and that's very unusual. That doesn't usually happen. Usually, when a studio produces an anime, it stays that way. Usually, when a manga is produced, it becomes an anime. It doesn't, it's one of those things where it doesn't usually go backward. So it was very unique to see that happen. Again, not impossible, not a 1 in a million, but it is different. Let's put it that way. And
it's really good. But yeah, it's happened with
I can't get into
Tuesday,
it.
Too.
Well, I can't get into
the manga?
Right, because Big O isn't just giant robot punching things for me. It's the music. It's the boom, boom, doom, doom. It's all of that. It's the whole atmosphere. It's knocking over bottles while you're live streaming. It's that kind of thing. It's just I can't get into the manga because it doesn't carry the kinetic and like symphonic atmospheric energy that the anime does. And it's not that their fault. It's just I know the anime first.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Happened to me too.
Right, and so when I read that, I can't get that force that you're seeing here when Big O is punching Big Duo's force field. I don't get that. I just see giant robot punching force field. Now, again, when I read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z's manga, I feel that because I was introduced to the anime first, but the manga precedes it, meaning the stuff you see in the anime is based on what happened in the manga, not the other way around. So when you're trying to transfer the kinetic energy of an anime into a manga, it doesn't work. When you go, for me, when you go around and you do it the other way around, like you see Akira Toriyama's very skillful eye for placing people on a battlefield, showing you their poses so you can track the movement of these characters that are moving faster than the eye can trace, as you know. And that's a very unique talent, and that comes through in the anime. Whereas, like I'm pointing out here, these punches feel very numb when they're transferred over because I know how Big O is supposed to sound and supposed to feel when the punches happen. And that's not coming through in the manga. And this is what I want to point out about the Sanji thing, though, is that when you get it in your head, how this is supposed to be, and you go envisioning it, then the delivery of it doesn't get through to you, doesn't come across the same way. It doesn't twang those same heartstrings. Well, we got to burn it to the ground is the solution to these people that are mad at Toei.
Yep. And the thing that's crazy is you don't see the same, well, you don't see the same, and it's probably a good thing you don't see the same energy towards what's happening with Bones and Popstep. I know what if they censor Lady Midnight in the manga, or from the manga in the anime, there's going to be a lot of riots because her being extremely skimpy, that's part of her shtick. So I'm scared for it. But if I sent, as I said, I sent you the link for Popstep. Like her bare ass is covered, her thighs are covered, the boots, which are like supposed to be in the manga, they're knee-high boots, they're closer to thigh-high boots, so more of her thigh is covered. There are some. Do you have it, or do you want me to give you the link?
I'm trying to. Oh, Popstep. Sorry, the link doesn't load up sometimes, so I only get the link name. So
yeah, it's because I'm shadow banned is the problem.
We also have to be a bit careful about showing this off, Kappa and whatnot. So if you forgive us if we're not like zooming in, okay, guys, you're gonna have to do your own research, if you will, fellas. And so again, I think we heard them talking about Western standards earlier. We heard that the manga studios themselves were going to start just auto censoring. They weren't going to produce something, then go through the task of censoring it for the Western and Chinese market. So if you don't know, since 1997, pornography and recorded or animated acts of lewd acts have been banned in China. Pornography was banned in the 1950s, but outright lewd acts like this kind of stuff right here. And again, an upskirt shot of a girl is pretty lewd. You know, sorry, that's just how it goes. But so China will most likely ask to have this completely censored, in which she's wearing leggings that run all the way up to her hips. You know, they'll just color in the thighs and the butt, that kind of thing. And that is, it's one of the things that is kind of going to continue to plague Japan, as we just heard that Toei itself is going to start expanding into Western markets as a priority. Spencer covered this a couple days ago. I'm just going to have to bring it up real quick here.
But here I said it earlier too. The problem is that a lot of people, because they can't separate fiction from reality, they see Popstep and they go by her canonical age and be like, "Oh, that's a minor. Why are you mad that a minor is censored?" And I'm just like, "Dude, that's not what the art is. It's not. It's little things like that, and like a few scenes that were cut from the manga. Like there's like a police scene where like they're at Popstep's concert and the police arrive. That was basically cut. But that's one example of the scene being cut. But like for the most part, for those wondering about Vigilantes, it looks good. The writing is not as bad as Fire Forces, which is a clusterfuck, unfortunately. Witch Watch is very, very it's bizarre because Witch Watch cut out a lot of lore, which really annoyed the hell out of me. And also the color palette for Nico's outfit was completely wrong too. It's supposed to be blue, not pink in the very beginning. But
so as this headline suggests, though, that I'm having trouble sizing. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Formatting spun, so we'll just scroll down. Anyway, so what we're seeing right here is that, of course, One Piece and Super Sentai Studio, Toei, will now be focusing on overseas markets due to the lack of children in Japan to create this media for. I'll say that slower for everybody out there. Toei is forced to seek foreign markets because Japan doesn't have enough kids to keep that corporation alive. That is, I don't know how, I don't know how to express the terror any more than like having some scream track come over and make your ears bleed. It's absolutely terrifying, the kind of demographic collapse that this indicates right here. Toei is one of the largest entertainment companies in Japan, and I believe the largest children's entertainment company. I want to say they are.
I think
maybe
I think it's
Kodansha?
I thought it was Kodokawa. No, Kodokawa is a little
Kadokawa.
bit larger.
Yeah, so it's between them and Kadokawa over who has like the corner over who's the Disney of Japan, if you will. And so
In terms of the anime, you mean?
in terms of just entertainment altogether, because Kadokawa has like everything under the sun, like just like Toei has everything under the sun. So what I'm getting at though is that this is an indicator of how awful things are in Japan right now, population wise. So anime is going to definitely start picking up DEI things. It's definitely going to start picking up Western political themes because they're going to try appealing to us. And we all know how corporations receive that stuff. It'll probably be done much more artfully than it was done over here, like in South of Midnight, and how they race swap every character with red hair under the sun in these superhero movies and these princess movies. But other than that, it probably will embrace a lot of the things that we hate about Western entertainment. And which again is imploding on itself right now. But Japan may not be registering that as a problem of the topic that are used, the topics, the conversation rather that's happening in these productions, and more of a symptom of the economy shifting away from Hollywood. So again, I don't know what's going on in their boardrooms at Toei, but they have made a decision that they are going to embrace overseas markets. And you and I both know what that means. That's good old America that they're going to be pitching to, because we pay more per product. China may have a larger market over who's buying these things, but when it comes to who's paying more for that hunk of plastic, that DVD case they don't want to sell you anymore, Americans pay more for that product than Chinese do, and as like dollars to dollars goes. All right, that's not the value of the dollar. We literally pay more for imported products than China does. So we are more valuable to these anime companies as far as cash in the bank goes. And so that's why they're here. It scars me as an adult even to think of how dystopic it is to live in Japan right now when you have Japan's Disney. Imagine if Disney came out and said, hey guys, there aren't enough kids in America, so we're just going to go out and seek those foreign markets in order to keep our company alive. If we don't do that, Disney will go out of business. Now, everybody here, of course, yay, we'll get rid of Disney, but I'm talking about as the good Disney. Let's put it that way. Wherever you think good Disney was, imagine that good Disney coming out and telling everybody, there's not enough kids in America, we got to go somewhere else or there won't be a Disney. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm the only one that's kind of like terrified by the notion of that. Like a mega corporation can't survive because there aren't enough kids in a country.
Yeah, this whole thing it's really sad with what's happening. I don't Toei, let's be real, Toei's been doing it for a minute with the as I said, they did the Saint Seiya live action thinking that it would appease the Western markets, and same with the CGI too. And with Saint Seiya, I remember reading an article about the staff at Toei didn't want to make this live action. They wanted to do like this. I think they even said about the CGI. I can't remember, but I know they didn't want to do the live action. It was the head of Toei that was pushing this. Yeah. So I feel like it's going to probably be the same thing where you're going to see the staff push back against Toei for this.
Staff?
The staff at Toei, like the animators and the directors and stuff like that, they will push back against Toei for wanting to just straight up cater to the North American market.
I don't know if they're going to have a choice. That's the hard part. It's like Japanese business culture is much different than it is here in the USA. And it's only people like Hideki Anno that are huge earners for corporations that really get to come in and tell them what to do. When it comes to your average pencil pushing guy that has to put in a 9 to 5 job there, they don't really get to tell their boss, I don't want to do things for Americans. A guy like Hideki Anno can come out and do that. Miyazaki could come out and do that, but not your average guy. I don't even think Horikoshi has enough pull to be able to say, no, I won't create for Americans. I really don't think Horikoshi has that much power.
There's a difference between the manga and anime. Manga, it's all up to the publisher. And the publishers like Shueisha and Kodansha and them, they only make content for the Japanese audience. They do not care. When it comes to printed to written stuff, the mangaka has more right. The mangaka has more rights than like an anime studio. They do. Yeah, Kitty knows. But yeah, it's crazy.
Well, Leslie brings this up, and believe it or not, this is a topic in quite a few anime that are coming out this year. I believe that part of the war that happens in My Perfect Marriage is involving some kind of conflict with China, I believe, or some type of conflict involving World War II, I think is what this is set in. And I'll bring that up here because this was a really good, happy moment. I was really, really impressed with My Perfect Marriage.
My Perfect Marriage is a good series. I need to like catch because I know it has a manga. It's adapted from the manga. I gotta read that myself. But yeah, it's supposed to be
My Happy Marriage.
Really
Sorry,
good.
My Happy Marriage.
Yeah, My Happy Marriage.
And good news. Speaking of happily marrieds, we have Spencer here. Happily married to Bounding into Comics.
Happily married to the job. What's going on, guys?
Well, we were talking about the psychodrama going on with Sanji versus Toei, and now
I just learned about that from Nerdigans. This is insane. Like this is the thing. Like how do I put this? I talk like Nerdigans catches this all the time, and my reaction is always like, this is just what like these idiots do. So like I want to try and ignore them, but they do this every time with every little thing. You can't have an anime exist anymore or anything exist anymore without these conspiratorial anime fans going at you. Like it's very, very strange.
Yeah, and I agree with Black Pill Timon. Saint Seiya has been lost since Lost Canvas. And that's because Toei just needs to free
Was
their
Lost
license.
Canvas the Netflix series?
That was TMC. That was TMS that did that one. And I think it's on Netflix. I think it was.
Was it the 3D one?
Netflix. No, that's not the 3D one. That's the reboot. The Lost Canvas is the adaptation of the prequel to
right. Okay, yeah. I was
yeah.
thinking of the reboot, but I couldn't remember if it had like a special name or anything. So
yeah, the reboot does have a special name. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
I just know it as like Babby's first Saint Seiya. I don't know if anybody out there watched it. Like I caught a couple episodes. I don't know if you did, Nerdigans, but like
it is bad.
It's bad, but it's also like very, very, very simple. Like even for what that concept is, like they're like, okay, time to fight, and they'll like do like one special. I don't like. It's just very, very low budget, low animation. It doesn't feel good to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it just and like going back to what we were saying about Toei going global, it's just like look at what happened with the live action Saint Seiya. Like Toei went against the will of their staff and put out this really bad live action.
And you know what? That one kind of disappoints me because I will admit in the trailers for that, it didn't look half bad, right? Like I know you and I talked about it back in the day. I remember my approach was like, it doesn't look like what I would want from a Saint Seiya like adaptation, but it felt like the early X-Men movies. You know what I mean? Like they're still trying, but they still they're like, oh, we got to bring this to, a wider, not in the sense of like, oh, we got to make it appeal to everybody, but just, bringing the concept of like armored fighters to the world at large. So like, I was like, oh, that could be cool. And then it was just not cool. It was just like they did every decision wrong that they could have done with that.
Yeah, it was like a declaration of war against Latin America because South America loves Saint Seiya.
Saint Seiya, Dragon Ball,
Captain Tsubasa,
that's the other one. Yeah, Captain Tsubasa. Those are the big three. Obviously Tsubasa because soccer, but you mess with any of those three franchises, Latin America will go to war.
They will, and I've actually told my Aniplex Insider, I said, why are you focusing so much on the North American market when the Latin American market and the French market, they're a lot bigger there. and they actually care. They actually care about the product. They're not trying to sabotage it.
They're a lot bigger there.
I got that one too. Does France have a bigger
Yeah,
like that's a bigger population though? Like that's
no, but they have the
so,
biggest market for anime and manga outside of Japan.
but here's where I question this is they might have the biggest market by numbers, but like what does that translate into people? Because while they might have, let's just say I'm just pulling out numbers here. None of the numbers I'm about to say are official, but let's say they have like a 60% manga anime reading rate over there, right? Like 60% of France loves anime and manga, and they want to go all in on that. Well, if they've only got 1 million people, again, just random number, that's only like what 60,000 or whatever. Now, if you go to America and you say, well, they only have 30% of an anime loving audience, but then you go, oh, but they've got 4 million people. That's a bigger bit there. And we also, up until recently, we had a lot more disposable income, a lot more freedom to spend our money. So they were probably looking at that than Latin America or France.
Yeah, Latin America is like, we're talking all of Latin America, which is basically like an equivalent. Well, I wouldn't say the same amount of population that the US has, but there's a lot more. There's there's still a bigger market there. But
you are correct if we're comparing like North America to like South Latin America.
Yeah.
Here's the difference, Nerdigans, is that if you're penetrating in North America, you only got to deal with like, depending on how you want to classify Mexico, you only have to deal with 2 or 3 countries, right? If I want to go get my anime out in Latin America, I've got to go on a full like diplomatic tour to like 40 different countries, deal with all of their licensors, all of their regulations. I would do it, but it's going to be more of a challenge. Yeah, a longer process. That's what I was looking for. That's exactly what I was looking for.
And that's probably why K manga has taken so long to get to Latin America, and why it started out here in the US. And I think they just expanded to Australia, and I think maybe Europe too. I could be wrong, but Australia has a decent anime market too.
Australia's not real.
It's not. Did you? Oh, I don't know if you saw this, Cider, but the Gundam Cucks or whatever we want to call. I still don't know how to pronounce it. The first episode came out, which is, for side note, very weird. It like they had a pre release movie that was like a prequel episode to the series. That's where it actually starts. Like if you go and you hit like play on episode 1 of Gundam Cucks, like it's the aftermath of that movie. Very, very weird. But there's a moment in this last episode where the main character, she's like spinning a globe and she puts her hand on it and it stops, and you can see there's Australia, but there's a giant chunk like blown out of it.
Oh my God, for Australia.
So they still did Operation British.
It looks like they still did Operation British, even though Amuro never got in the Gundam.
Wow. Like that's some vengeance right there.
I like that little bit right there. I was like, oh, okay, now you guys kind of have me now. Like I gotta know why you still did Operation British.
So Gundam GX here. Gundam GX is it came out the other day. It had its first episode come through. Hideki Anno is doing his best not to Evangelion it.
That's what he said he was going to try and do.
Yeah, and it's clear that at every turn where he wanted to Evangelion it, where he wanted to Shinji get in the robot it, he took the opposite direction, and that did not work. Not a lot. There was a lot of like, okay, this is supposed to happen now, and then it went.
Yeah,
and and I appreciate that they're trying to get back into the whole like appeal to children market with like young protagonist who is spunky and rebellious meeting side protagonist who
like
is kind
who's
of
like dark and
blanket. Yeah, kind of a wet blanket, I'm here to remind you that this isn't all high, fun, happy giant robot time,
Your Piccolo Goku's, your Naruto Sasuke's.
that kind of dynamic character there. And for me, I was like, this is not Gundam. I wanted so badly to believe it because it was new, it was fun, the design was weird and quirky. And
Yeah.
the concept was like G Gundam, but with kids. And I was like, okay, that doesn't suck. And then they're like, yeah, it's illegal to do this. I was like, oh, okay. So they're like rebellious inside of the Zionic
But
Empire.
Yeah,
Nope.
no, but they focus like with this and with Witch from Mercury, they are focusing too much on like the inter-kid drama. You know what I mean? Like, and I get it, like there is an important element of that, but I feel like they're leaning too hard on that. I don't know. Like I'm right there with you. I'm still open to it, but I am kind of like, can we get back to war instead of just like classmate battles?
My favorite part. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I'm really hoping this is gonna be the case that Anno is just setting up, like maybe the prequel and probably maybe the first couple of episodes, just setting it up for the war, and hopefully the drama, the school drama and tournament is not too long.
And I'm not, or how do I put this? I agree with you, Nerdigans. I'm sure there's some buildup. I'm sure it's not as boring as Cider and I first read it, but even if that's the case, I feel like he didn't do a good job of like not setting up that conflict, but even laying the groundwork for it, if you will. Like I come out of this episode and I'm like, that was cool. All right. Right. But like the most interesting thing I found was, look at this background detail in like one frame. That wasn't, knowing Anno, that might have been his way of dropping the teaser. But otherwise, it was sort of like, okay, what are we doing here?
So next episode, we find out how Char got into the Gundam. We do not find that out in this episode. We only see him fly by the command bridge of a Zionic white base, who is now green base. I'm going to call it green base because it's green. Fight me. Anyway, the thing is that we're going to see basically a shot-for-shot redo of the Gundam activating and going into action. However, it is going to be for the Zionic side. And I have a feeling we're going to move into a montage from there that shows Char's Vader-like obliteration of the Federation using not only the 3 times faster philosophy with the Gundam, but also the pure plot armor of the Gundam. It just can't die. So we could just do anything. You just throw it into the heart of the enemy. It doesn't matter. It'll slice and dice its way out. So the pure the pure unstoppable nature of the Gundam in Char's hands, I have a feeling is going to be more comical than Hideki Anno really planned it to be. But it is really going to show off the plot armor of the Gundam.
I'm 100% behind you, but and this is admittedly me being a Hideaki, like an Anno fanboy. I can see him like, yeah, that's what he's going to do. And then he gets to that point and he's like, this is comical. And he might just lean into it. We might just see Char going nuts for like the last 15 minutes of an episode. And it's going to be some of the best Gundam we'll ever
This is the same guy that dressed up in an Ultraman costume and like acted out the storyboard scenes for his Ultraman movie. Okay. So he's not shameless, you know.
This is the man who wore a Rider 1 suit to his own wedding. Like this man cares about this stuff, at least. That's not to say he can't misfire, which like Cider and I are worried about. But yeah, I want to have hope here.
Right. And I would feel the same way if like Michael Bay was put in charge of this, that kind of thing. It's he has a style, right? I'm not saying Hideki Anno is Michael Bay.
No. My reaction was going to be positive because I was going to be like, man, I know like people have always joked about it, but I would be really in for like a Michael Bay Gundam, even if he just went, 1,000-Year War, what's that? Char or like Char and Amuro are fighting over the hottest beach or like the babe on the beach or whatever. I'd be like, okay, Michael, you do you, Michael.
Well, I mean, Sydney Sweeney is in talks to be in the Gundam movie.
So that's what that's what I was gonna say is that like no, they'll make her Lala soon. They'll make her Lala soon and blow her up.
Oh, I want it to be like remember the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie when they had like Chris Hemsworth on the press tour and he's like, yeah, I'm in this movie, it's gonna be great, and he dies in like the first 3 minutes. They got to do that.
Well, and see that's the thing that I really worry about with these Western attitudes about when we're like Toei saying we're gonna go and be more
know.
friendly with the West is that millennial ironic writing is going to come through, and it's going to be so awful in anime because it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit.
It's part of that thing the three of us in particular always talk about, right? Where in Japan, like that's anime and Gundam and all that stuff. It's treated seriously. So like we all treat it seriously. We all enjoy it because it's serious. Cider is right. The second it comes here, you're getting like I guarantee you guys there's gonna be some really overdone joke about like, oh man, there's a Gundam coming down. That's not a Gundam, that's just a mech. And then you hear like a boom behind him. That's a Gundam, and it's like the RX-78 or whatever, and it's playing Hell's
No,
Bells.
Spencer, even worse. I'm gonna hit you even worse. No, I'm gonna hit you even worse. It's gonna be so bad. Ready? Just close your eyes. Come with me on the journey. Here we go. So they're on the base. Amuro is with the Gundam. White base has landed. You know, Bright's eating a cheeseburger. Everything's fine. It's all a normal day. But then they say it's Ramba Ral. He's on the horizon. Look there. But wait, they're on their way. And he arrives in a Cadillac, a brand new Cadillac, product placed. And he gets out and he says, "This is no Zaku, son." And he slaps his hand on the roof.
No. Hold up. Yes, but you missed one key element here, Cider, which is that when collaborations happen with Gundam kind of does get like their leeway to go, okay, we'll promote your thing. Like you can put Char in the Honda, you can put the RX-78 on the 7-Eleven billboard, but now we get to make like a model kit of, something, right? We're going to make a Honda branded model kit. So Rambo Raw shows up in a, what did you say? Like a Mercedes Benz. He's going to
Sure,
have,
why not?
Whatever. Or the Cadillac. He's going to have the big crest like on the Gundam's chest. He's going to land, and then like the opening port will extend out a ramp for him to drive like the 2025 Cadillac or whatever onto the base.
The foot will open like a garage door.
Yes.
The foot will open.
Dude, no, it'll be his oh my gosh, what is that thing called? The battle loader from G Gundam. That'll be what it is. He just summons it every time and has to like drive it and like open up the foot hatch and it's like, okay, now we can fight.
That's his core lander is a Cadillac.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. Yes, there you go. I just realized as I was saying that, I'm like, we just came up with a pretty cool Megas XLR reboot.
Ramba Ral in as Coop.
Rambo Ral is Coop's dad.
Oh, that would be the best. That would be absolutely the best. But speaking of things that just aren't the best, we have a gentleman by the name of Adi Shankar.
Oh no.
And he's got some problems. Adi does. He's got some problems.
This man really needs to stop being handed IP. Like for the love of all that is good, all that is light out there, like stop letting him work on things. For those of you who don't know who this is Adi Shankar. He is the producer of many of Netflix's video game adaptations. You may have seen Castlevania, Nocturne, Captain Laserhawk, the weird Ubisoft thing where they turned Rayman into like a cocaine snorting villain, which was very, very odd, just like across the entire board. He's also done a lot of, he calls them the bootleg universe short films. It's basically him just making fan films of established IP. You've probably seen one or two of his movies. I will admit there is one that he made, the very first one he ever made, I actually like. You've all probably seen it. It is that Punisher Laundry Day short that Thomas Jane came back for. That was like 10 years ago or something. It's like 5 or 8 minutes. It's pretty cool. But everything after that, it's just Cider, you'll probably have seen it. That like R-rated Power Rangers short from like 10 years. Yeah, another 10 years ago. He was responsible for that.
That was him?
That was him.
Son of a bitch.
Do you want to know, before we keep moving on and getting into like Devil May Cry and stuff, I learned an absolutely bonkers anecdote about him and Power Rangers, Cider. And I just need to anybody out there who understands how like any entertainment industry works or any of this stuff, like you'll know how insane this story is about to be. So like Nerdigans, you'll know too. So after that movie came out, or that short film, whatever that Power Morphicon was that year, which is the big every year annual
Power Ranger Mecca.
convention.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Where is it? Is it always in California or is it Florida? I think it jumps around.
It floats between California, Arizona, and Texas.
That's right. Yeah, Texas. That's what it is. Yeah. So that year that came out, he got invited to appear like for a signing or a panel, or I think it was a panel to talk about the movie. And when that announcement went out on the Power Morphicon Facebook, everybody was not happy. They were like, why are you inviting him? Did you watch what he did to Power Rangers? Like, this is not somebody we want in this environment.
Yeah.
Now, that's kind of normal, right? We've all seen that. Here's where this goes from normal, creator situation to bonkers, where Adi Shankar, in an interview he gave recently for Devil May Cry, he was talking about this event and he said, I started reading all those comments. I got so super nervous. Oh, so he's talking about how did you get to casting Johnny Young Bosch in Devil May Cry as Dante? And for those of you who don't know, Johnny Young Bosch was the Black Ranger who took over for Zack back in Mighty Morphin. He was in the movie, delivers one of the best lines.
Wait, Spencer, they don't know that. They don't know. Hold on, pause. So Asian guy that took over for the black guy when the black guy wanted more money. Okay, time in.
Yes, there we go. Time in. That was way better than I could have ever put it.
I hope we get into that interview too that just happened.
I'm sure it'll be a perfect jump off from Devil May Cry. But for those of you who have seen the movie, best line of all time, I'm a frog, right? So that's Johnny Young Bosch. He voices Dante. This interviewer was saying, how did that work out? And so Shankar was talking about how he met him at this Power Morphicon. And so Shankar gets announced. Everybody goes, we don't want him here. Shankar sees the comments and he starts going, oh man, this is what do I do? He reaches out by his own admission to JDF, Jason David Frank, when he was still alive, rest in peace, and says, hey man, I'm coming to this con and everybody's really mad at me. Do you think you could say something and give me an endorsement and be like, no, it's all cool? And keep in mind, JDF didn't have anything to do with the project. They'd never talked before. Shankar's not an official part of Hasbro or whoever owned it at that time. I think Disney or whatever. I don't know what. We all know it gets complicated.
It was Neo Saban at the time.
Okay, that's why I thought it might have been Neo Saban. So he just reaches out to this. This is a guy who took this property, subverted it to all hell, and made it super edgy and all that. Gets a lot of fan backlash, and then reaches out to arguably the icon of this entire franchise and says, yo, bro, can you just say I'm cool? And JDF, to his credit, was no. No, you're on your own.
Well, no, you missed this part. You missed this part in the timeline. Adi didn't know that JDF was the one that started raising hell about the movie. He was the first of the cast to come out and say, fuck this, and everybody involved with it, and he went in a long Twitter thread, back when that actually mattered. When stars didn't do that every week, he went into a long thread explaining the ethos behind why Power Rangers is not for murderers.
And Cider's right. Back in the day when celebrities used social media, it was catch me on E! Entertainment tonight at 7. Catch me tonight on the Today Show or something. And then it's oh, here's my latest YouTube short. You don't, and then for JDF, then it was hey, we got to talk about Power Rangers. And it was this big old threat. He was not happy about it.
And then Adi was this guy seems like a fella that would turn around and say, I'm cool.
Right, exactly. You've never talked to him. You have no relation with him. And you just go, hey man, do you want to give me your stamp of approval? That would be us going to I don't know, what's that one that just happened, Nerdigans? Anime Japan, right? The three of us go to Anime Japan, and let's say the week before, Cider and I have a really bad take, and we say something Gundam is for commies, and only
2 nukes wasn't enough.
Yeah, we say something like that, right? And that's what everybody goes, oh, we don't want them here representing us, unless they're gonna bomb themselves or something. And then Cider and I go, oh man, we're in a lot of hot water. Hey, Tomino, would you mind telling everybody that we're cool, that they should be excited for me to come? I don't know what level of narcissist, self-absorbed, or detached from reality you have to think that.
It's this level of narcissist detached from reality where you're a mid-40s Indian man wearing a DMC cosplay.
This is have you seen, dude, this is the promo shot from like 2018 when they announced it. Did you see the WWE cameo he had?
Yes. Oh my god, I saw it.
I was hoping Jacob would be here for that one because I wanted to get his take, because I don't know any of these people, and he looks like he's about to be like ganged. Okay, he looks like he's about to get gang.
So I unfortunately I don't think Jacob's gonna make it tonight. He gave me a scheduling update. I'll let you guys know in the back. But this is this was even okay. So this man goes out to the, I guess, WWE show that happened this past weekend, and this isn't even the bad one. Like, this is kind of standard. He's like meeting with a couple of wrestlers. Again, Jacob would
gentleman.
Jacob would be the one to know. But there's a bit where like when you have like sporting events, you guys have probably all seen it at like UFC fights and stuff, or you know, Taylor Swift at a football game, they'll go, oh, look at the celebrities that are in the house. And they'll go around and there's Macaulay Culkin, there's, you know, Donald Trump, there's, you know, whomever, blah, blah. I have literally no other celebrities off the top of my head that aren't like 7,000 times controversial. Like the next one I wanted to go to was Ye. And I'm like, nobody's going to be putting him on TV. Nobody's going to be letting him in the stadium right now. But so they highlight him in the crowd, and he's wearing that cosplay that you're seeing right there. And he like stands up and he does like a finger point. I guess it's something to acknowledge one of the wrestlers, but it just is like so very sad. Do you guys remember? I think it was this most recent Golden Globe.
At this. Let's just stop for a second and take in this picture, okay? Like, ooh,
this is
okay. Someone let him leave his house like this. Then they let him go to a stadium like this. Then some camera guy who told the control room, hey, we've got Adi Shankar here. Somebody in the control room saw him on camera and said, yes, my multi-billion-dollar next Netflix overlords are absolutely going to want to showcase this as an example of their multi-million-dollar investment.
That is exactly it, isn't it, Cider? Like, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, he probably only had to do this because Netflix is like cross-promoting. I bet WWE didn't even want to do this, and they will do.
No. He didn't have to wear the costume. No. I promise you.
No.
That was not the thing. He had to be at the show to cross promote it because Bing Bing Wahoo Pizza Man would obviously love WWE. So, but then he was I'll dress up as Dante instead of like making his +1 a cosplayer who actually looks like the character that he put in the show and carries around like rubber pizza or something. Right. I don't know,
me like look at me.
Exactly. Right? And there it is. So, here I am, a middle-aged Indian man trying to look like an anime.
To that point, I wanted to point out before we even move on, look at his face. A lot of people, like, you might look at that face and assume, you know, it's a paused frame. He's probably mid expression moving. There's a lot of reasons people can get caught with a weird look, right? That's not what it is. That is this man thinking, this is anime cool. Like, I am cool anime.
I'm so badass right now. Oh my God, I'm so badass. Mom, get the camera.
He's in his mind, he's like, dude, I am so sick right
I can't
now.
wait to see this on the replay, bro. Can't wait to see this on the replay.
And then like Netflix goes out and they like highlight this clip, and it's just so like, it's very, very sad. But
wait, what was the special song, Spencer? What was the special song that they made for this? Evanescence came back and made that song, right?
They made a brand new single. I have no idea what the name of it is.
That's what's playing in his head right now. That's what's in the background.
I want to say no, that's not, because I have a better song that would be in his head, but we'll get into it because it is just absolutely embarrassing. But to this point, Adi Shankar is the producer of all these series. Now, to what Cider and I were saying about, you know, narcissist, this guy thinks he is the tops. Nerdigans and I were talking about this, and this is, so if you notice down there, Adi is listed as creator of Devil May Cry, now on Netflix. Now, they're not saying he is, you know, the creator of the series. Clear, like, they are saying he's the show creator because that is the name of the show. But that is sort of this guy loves to play a lot of word games like this, and that is sort of his dodge of this, right? he'll go out and he'll say, I created Devil May Cry. I created Devil May Cry. I created Devil May Cry. And then when somebody goes, oh, no way, you worked on the games? That's when he gets to go, oh, I didn't say I worked on the games. I made the anime. So he's sort of trying to like latch himself into this franchise without having ever actually done anything with it.
It would be like Michael Bay coming out and saying that, you know, I made Transformers, and then not saying the movies.
Right.
You know,
that's exactly what it is.
And this is Netflix trying to kind of short the dollar on their investment here to try and like get more bang for their buck by saying, because they can't say the Devil May Cry anime, because it's not really an anime. Because when you get down to what an anime is, that's not it. That was like that weird 90s Amerimation thing they were trying to do. Do you remember? This really reminded me, not in the art style, but just in how it was trying so hard. It really reminded me of that. It was that show about the ghost hunter kid, and his mom was a super scientist, and they went around capturing. So it was done up like this, like the Totally Spies.
Yeah, it wasn't Danny Phantom.
No, but it was another one where he was like a normal guy, and he was like Ghostbusters, but with more steps.
Yeah, I can see it in my head. Hopefully, somebody
and this
in the chat will probably get us.
This Devil May Cry present thing here, it reminded me of that because it's trying so hard to anime, but it can't because it wants to be ironic millennial sitcom humor at the same time, and those two things don't exist together.
They don't. So, for those of you who don't know, this new Devil May Cry series, 8-episode first season. It's part of Netflix's deal with Audi. For those of you who even care anymore about either of these franchises, buckle up. He is producing a animated adaptation of both PUBG and Assassin's Creed for Netflix.
Naturally.
So
that one he'll probably do pretty good at, to tell you the truth.
He might give us the best Assassin's Creed thing in like years.
Exactly. Even if he does Shadows. You want to know why? Because it is an entirely self jerk-off session.
Okay.
He's going. Oh, okay. I was gonna make a joke that he's gonna be Yasuke, but no. It's gonna end with like episode 8 or whatever of Assassin's Creed, where like Yasuke goes to cut down whatever that like last guy is, and then it like cuts, and then you finally get your first shot of who's in the Animus, right? Like maybe each episode starts with like a black screen narration to the person in the Animus, then it like, and it's gonna be Audi. Like it will 1000%.
But he'll be Desmond.
Yeah, well, exactly. It'll be like Desmond Shankar or something. Like,
right.
Nice to meet you.
Right, and again, like he'll sit up out of the seat and stuff like that, and that'll be how it was. But it'll be like an interrupted memory of Yasuke. So he will have been like this kaiju powerful black man that's like running through buildings, lobbing heads off like baseball bat, wiffle balls, and then. It'd be any of them, Leslie Tarkin, like all of them. Like Assassin's Creed is fun when you're in that male power fantasy, but as soon as you step back out of it, it is like the most like assassin.
It is very
self
like self jerk off, super like pseudo intellectual is probably what I would put it, right? Like it really wants. There's a lot of cool concepts it throws in there, but as the old adage goes, like a story or a character is only as smart as the people writing it. So they don't really do a lot of the cool stuff with, ancient alien technology having existed forever or all of our societies being intertwined. They just go like, oh yeah, there's a special sword here in Japan. That should be the item for this game. Go get it. Okay, what's the sword do? Spooky magic. Okay, what kind of spooky
scary
magic?
Sword stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, scary sword stuff. Got it. We'll go take care of that. So,
what did you think it did? Do your taxes?
that is. I know that's what they're gonna say when they give whomever it is, whether it's an established assassin, whether it's Naue or Altair or like a new character. When they give them the blade, that is what they're gonna say. It's gonna be, they're gonna go through their like assassin training or whatever, and the final thing you get, because canonically it is in lore it is the last thing you're supposed to get. They'll be like, here is your blade, and it's like, what? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then the guy will like show him or show her, and they'll be like, what? it wasn't for, did you think we were doing taxes here in the assassin's order? And it's going to be like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up.
Or you're going to get the assassin that gets that, and then it goes spling, and they're like, that's it? That spling? Really?
Yeah.
That's how we take over the world and fight aliens? Spling? Really?
No, yeah, you're total.
They're gonna do that.
Like make fun of the blade at the because so.
Oh, and the hay dive, the leap of faith. That'll be another thing. They're like the character will step up out of the hay and they'll look around and like, how?
No, the character they won't even do like that. Would be too subtle for them. They're gonna have somebody like lampshade it, like whoever they'll jump, they'll land. It'll be like a guard pops his head out, they're like chasing and he like looks over the edge, or like a villager or two. They'll be like, how did he survive that fall? Like no man should be able to survive that fall. Like I've only heard of this in stories or some thinly veiled video game joke, right?
If they were smart, they would have the guards jumping out of it for the rest of the series, trying to figure out how to do that.
Oh my God.
British military maneuver. And that Roman
I would want that
maneuver,
to be like the opening. Anytime you saw the military again, no matter like if they're chasing Altair, if they're having a siege, that has to be like the first strategy. Everybody is like really intent on like, we will unlock this hay jump. And it's just like the first wave.
That's what they call it. The hay jump. It's not the leap of faith. It's the hay jump for them. They have like a simulated tower. Like remember those military obstacle courses? So they have a simulated tower. You've got all those grab handles. You got to go up the side of it. Then you got to jump down. And they've got like a line of soldiers like it's a water park. They're like, wee, and jump down and down. We'll get that assassin next time, sir. Yeah, we're prepared for the hay jump. And let's go.
But like, I love the fact that you pointed out that it'll be hay jump instead of leap of faith, because so this is, for those of you who don't know, like we'll get into this. Adi Shankar, how do I put this? So Cider, earlier today, you said Adi Shankar is not a fan of these things. And I get the read, but here's where I disagree. And I think like everybody will understand where I'm coming from. So let's take Batman for an example, right? If you don't get something like, let's say, Christopher Nolan's Batman or the Dark Knight Batman, where Batman gets really, violent, starts breaking bones, is a little more of that Snyderverse-y without somebody being an actual big fan of something. And I say this because the mentality you can see here is, I need people to take this seriously, right? So because think, how many times have we seen this from people? Like, think about when we were kids, when we were teenagers or whatever. Oh, Batman or Spider-Man is so lame. Well, maybe not Spider-Man, but like Batman, why doesn't he just kill the Joker? Why doesn't he just, punch him out? Or if you're think of whenever anybody adapts something for the screen, they've got to sort of make everything realistic, make everything way too grounded, because they go, nobody's going to take this seriously. Adi Shankar comes from a place of insane insecurity. And that is kind of what I see as the motivating factor of everything he creates. He doesn't like I've been saying, if you guys have, hung out with me on any of the shows I've been on this last week, you'll know that I've been referencing the conversation Cider and I had last week a lot, where when we were talking about that 80s movie, the one with Pedro Pascal, Cider, you dropped that like really awesome line where you were like, this is just 80s as aesthetics. They don't care about like what really happened. They don't really care about like, why is everybody wearing a starter jacket? They just go, neon lights, starter jacket, teased hair, 80s, right? And when you only engage with something on a surface level like that, that's when you get hyper insecure. Yeah. For example, if Cider and I, or the three of us actually, like if we're Gundam fans, we really like, the designs of the Gundams and the fact that it focuses on war and it's not afraid to actually show, kids dying or like the consequences of war. And then we went, well, if I'm going to, communicate this to people, we got to abandon like the new type stuff. We've got to abandon, more like crazy Gundam designs. We need to keep this real. that would be us going like, we're afraid, we wouldn't do that because we enjoy it. We've engaged with it for real. And we love it for what it is. We're not sitting here going like, what is somebody else going to think of this? That's what Audie does. And he does it. And you can tell he's sort of stuck in this very teenage mentality because that's sort of where his analysis of a lot of society life wants to come from. I mean, oh yeah, exactly, Leslie. That movie was 80s probably by somebody who was like born in 89 and their parents had a bunch of 80s stuff around the house while they were like growing up through the 90s. It's probably somebody like that. But the thing with Audie is, look at how he takes all of these franchises, Castlevania, Devil May Cry, these franchises that, on their face might be a little weird to, let's just say, a normie, right? Guy doing a bunch of combos, swinging a sword, fighting a bunch of demons with hot babes around. Little weird. I mean, we're all about it, but I can see a normal person going like, I don't know about that. Or Castlevania, where it's like, here's a very, very, monster slaying story where there's a bunch of weird creatures and Dracula has like mind-bending powers and all the stuff.
And there's chicken in the walls.
Right, the chicken in the walls. And I can see people going like, I don't know about that. So Audie, like, he's so insecure about everybody liking what he likes that he has to make everything. Remember, so when I said, remember when we were teenagers, remember that period we all had, as embarrassing as it was, where we really wanted to be seen as, adults. We finally wanted to, we're 15, 14. I want to sit at the adults table for Thanksgiving or whatever. And so we started.
No crayons for me, sir.
Yep. That's the exact mentality I'm getting at, Cider, where we started doing dumb shit like that, where it's like, oh, this is what an adult does. Yeah. No crayons for me. I'll have my tax form, sir. Like things like that. Or, a lot of us also had that phase where we thought just swearing a lot meant everything was very mature and dark and elevated storytelling. And that's where he's stuck. And he's just this eternal teenager who wants you to take him very, very seriously. And like so what I was saying with the leap of faith and the hay jump is one of the key things in how he's hyper insecure about everything is that he tries to, how do I put this? He like being religious in a setting. He's going to say, oh, no, it's not. Let me subvert your expectations. You guys might remember infamously in Castlevania, they went, oh, vampires aren't afraid of crosses. They don't care about, there's no power behind a cross. They're afraid of right angles. So when you put 4 right angles together, they get really, it's like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
Technically, then that would mean that the swastika,
a picture frame. I could go, hey, look at this photograph, and then Dracula would explode into treats, right?
Wow,
like
that. Wow, so that was Nickelback, right?
That was absolutely Nickelback.
Probably the most useful Nickelback's ever been. Now I kind of want to see Nickelback Vampire Hunters. That would be kind of
at this
where they just hunt people down with dollar store picture frames.
And like one note song, like one chord songs. It would be the anti Dracula anthem. I can see it. Somebody get FX on the horn. We have $1 million idea ready to go.
So Kirby, while we'll laugh about that over here in the West, well, you're over in Japan, so that it's a Buddhist symbol. So for you guys over there, you see that symbol, it does not have any nefarious context behind it, unless it's a Kamen Rider episode. It's not really, or an episode of, what was that? The one with Alucard, Helsing.
Helsing, yeah.
It's an episode of Helsing. Usually the swastika is not a bad symbol over there because it's a Buddhist symbol. It's associated with, the Buddhist temples. And however, Adi Shankar comes from an Indian background, and Hinduism, of course, uses that symbol in the same manner, and then it's a positive symbol. So when you say that the vampires aren't warded off by crosses, but they are warded off by right angles, and we go making swastika comments, technically, you go full circle on that. So yeah, he does believe that the Hindu symbols, the Buddhist symbols, are more powerful than the cross.
Like, and so, but that is what you will. So bringing it back to Devil May Cry, in case anybody out there happened to catch any of this. Now, I wasn't ever planning on watching a single second of this. I am a absolutely massive Devil May Cry fan. Devil May Cry 3 is top 3 game for me of all time. And I loathe Shankar's approach to adapting all this stuff, right? Like Castlevania is the series about like gothic horror, and then you meet death. And instead of being that ostentatious sort of Shakespearean, Thor style, like, I am like, you dare to question blah, blah. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's just
I will eat you and poop you out and strangle the woman you love with the poop.
Yep. And it's just like, really? Like,
I am death.
You're trying to, he tries too hard to be mature and edgy. And in the end, it just comes off as like, this is really, you are trying too hard. And so that's what I was saying is I didn't have any intention of checking out the series until, when did it come out? Like last Thursday, Nerdigans?
And
Thursday at midnight or whatever.
Manga Common was the one who sent me sent me the clips for the Captain Planet quip, and something that Manga Common has said is that the Netflix Devil May Cry fans have been attacking him for criticizing Devil May Cry.
So again, that's going to happen no matter what. This is something I try to really reinforce nowadays is like, it's easy to get worked up or to go, oh, I'm being attacked. But in the words of Tyler, the creator, like, unless you are getting actively doxxed or like the Chibi review situation, just turn off the computer and walk away. Like, go do anything else. If you see a situation where people are, two random idiots on Twitter are going and screeching their heads off, you in your life, whether you're Cider, me, Leslie, Jacob, Nerdigans, anybody else, Sakura, who's like Timon, it would serve you so much better to just go, let the two idiots waste their time. I'm going to go do literally anything else. But it was that last Thursday when it came out, it's like midnight. I get a message from Nerdigans and she goes, you're not going to believe this. And she shows me the clip to the end of Devil May Cry, which I don't even really, what I'm about to tell you guys, in case you haven't seen it, you will not believe me. You will think I am making, like I'm trying to come up with a scenario, but I'm not. So this, in the original, in Devil May Cry, the series, the entire point of the series is there exists the light, right? And that is humans, that is our realm. And then there exists hell, which is the separate dark realm full of demons. Now in Devil May Cry, heaven it's not like the Christian hierarchy of the afterlife. It is literally just, here's one plane, here's another. And the whole mythos is that before light existed in the universe, that was hell reigned, all the demons ran free, and then light was birthed, and now the demons want to destroy and attack humanity because they want to rule everything. They're like, why is this not ours? And in Devil May Cry, demons are very, very specifically shown to be monsters, like mindless supernatural horrors that are birthed from evil intent, humans who've been corrupted, who have freely given themselves over to I want massive power. Oh no, my guts are getting ripped out. Their only goal is to attack anything in support of the light, whether that's a human, whether that's a hybrid like Dante, so on and so forth. Now, the big message of Devil May Cry is that, so how do I put this?
The demons are bad.
Well, it's demons are bad, but it's also like the entire. So in Devil May Cry, there is the lore goes that light side, dark side war happened for thousands and thousands of years until one demon named Sparta managed to over it in a once in a lifetime thing. He was able to fall in love with a human and develop the concept of love, and so he fought on the human side, locked away the demons for a long time, and they're slowly starting to trickle out as the events of the game start out. And of course, that guy ends up being Dante's dad. So Dante's a half demon. So is Virgil. And the entire point of the series is that you can chase, if you want to be powerful, if you just want the base idea of power, if you want to be strong enough to crush anybody in your way, you can do that, but you have to give up love. And it's a less fulfilling, less powerful existence than having people to fight for, having people by your side, people who care for you. And that is sort of that's the message. And the demons are supposed to be they're all evil, But oh man, the one time a demon was able to overcome, that's the big catalyst thing for all of this. Now, in Netflix's Devil May Cry, none of what I just said applies. Absolutely nothing I just said applies. In Shankar's world, hell exists, yes, but it is literally a Marvel style like alternate timeline, like a different dimension, or rather a DC style like Earth 1, Earth 2. And rather than being populated with monsters, this other realm is actually populated with most
Syrians.
Pretty freaking much. Like they Iraqis. Yeah, because they give, so they go, oh no, these people were like, we all share a common DNA ancestor. One of the old proto-humans like crossed over back and whatever. And yeah, when we see the regular residents of the demon world, it is so brazenly like, they have the like Muslim hats on, the chin strap beards, the like cloth robes. It is insane. They even explained that, oh, the reason so many devils are trying to escape hell or are coming over is because our like hell has been poisoned by warlords who extract our resources and they don't care about us. So we just want our children like to have a better life. And he literally turns hell and demons into this weird Middle Eastern refugee metaphor. And like, as we get to the end, like the series literally wraps, guys, with the main villain of this entire series is a guy by the name of VP Baines, who was voiced by the late Kevin Conroy. The role's been taken over by Ian Corbett, who he's done a lot of stuff. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he'll be next season. This guy is like a very, very super devoted, like, I follow the Bible literally to a T every day. And his entire thing is that he wants to open this portal to hell to fight hell and stop the apocalypse, right? Like he has to save the souls of the world. So the series literally ends with the vice president of the United States opening up a portal into hell, and a cadre of or a cadre of fighter jets rise up behind him and shoot Predator drone missiles into hell, where they start heat seeking and like blowing up everything. And the American forces invade. They start planting up American flags. They even build a giant like not a research facility, but a mining facility to start mining hell for its natural resources. All of this while Green Day's American Idiot is playing. Remember last week where we were looking at that soundtrack and I was like, oh man, look, Green Day, they have a song on there, but it's scratched out. They're trying to promote this by saying we got a new Green Day song. It wasn't new. It was literally American Idiot. And it was just used for a 2001 era, not even discourse, like a 2000. The best way I can describe this is if somebody like an 8th grader back in like 2004 listens to American Idiot for the first time and says, I know politics. And then you go read his like next in-class essay for history class, and it would read just like this kind of crap. It is absolutely.
I was going to say, well, do you remember that? You remember when Eminem was first dipping his toe into being an outspoken leftist, and he made his anti-Bush music video there about Bush taking over the world? Think about what you want.
Genuinely, I don't, because I'm actually not a big fan of M, so I don't. But continue.
The only reason why it stuck out to me is because I used to watch Fuse in the morning before the school bus would arrive,
I used to too, yeah.
And occasionally that would come through. And so that would stick out to me because I was, my dad was, 1929. So he was like the, American spirit, So I was the perfect neocon when I was a teenager. So like, how dare you insult George Bush? He's a saint, that kind of thing. So that I was wrong. Okay. I was wrong.
Right. We were all wrong. Hey, it's okay. Back when I was a kid, I think about this all the time. As a teenager, I literally parroted all the dumb like TV justifications for like invading Iraq. Like it's embarrassing to think of now, but I'm 15 going, of course, why don't we elect Bush again?
We have to fight them there, so they're not here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Gotta fight them there. Can't change captains in the middle of 15-year-old me was stupid because teenagers are generally stupid.
We should give them the right to vote. But anyway,
that right? Oh my god!
So
we don't even need to
this-
get into it. That is my argument against it right there.
this right, this right here though. This was like, if had this been live
Yeah,
action,
this
this
is-
would have
yes,
been
dude.
2005 making fun of George Bush music video, where George Bush orders the invasion of hell because the Pope
Right.
ordered him to, and the music video is about a breakup song, while Arabic demons are being blown to bits because they're just trying to live their lives and pay their electric bills.
And this would be like how do I put this? This would be animated, right, by a very famous Japanese animator that nobody, like Japan knows him, but nobody in the West knows him. So then you get the big articles in like the AP magazines that's like an interview with like Toko Tomono or whatever, and it's like you've revolutionized music. They did it. Remember they did that for what was that? The Linkin Park one, wherever they had that anime. It was like Numb or Breaking the Habit. One of those was like anime style, and all the press was
Well,
like,
the Gorillaz music was music videos were animated style. Those what was it?
those were
Which
cool,
one?
but like
Those were
Oh,
cool.
go
But
ahead.
there was
No.
one in particular
I
that
love
stuck out into my mind, but I just can't remember what it is.
Are you thinking? I think you might be thinking of, if we're all on the same subject, are you thinking of the Dirty Harry one where 2D is in the tank in the desert, and he's rapping, like, because that is an anti-Bush song. I don't know if that's what you're on.
That's one of
yeah.
them. But like there was another one too where he's playing guitar like on the plane. I just can't. Oh, Feel Good. That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah,
of.
there's Feel Good with Noodle on the island that everybody. But the difference between those was like, since Gorillaz was more like a lot more people looked at that as like a Disney style novelty, if you will, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like, wow, this is so cool. This is the next evolution of like animatronics we have here in the West. But at that time, if you had an anime thing, everybody was like, whoa, what is that thing? Like, have you seen Japanimation? Like, there was a different reaction to it. But all to say, that's like, Cider is right. This is what you were looking at, a 2004, 2001 era animated George Bush protest song music video. And it's like, look, as Cider and I, like, we both just admitted, there were a lot of problems with everything that went back in, the early 2000s in terms of American War Machine and all that. But we are in 2025. Literally, what is left to be said, right? Like, I don't know who even sits here still and goes, the Iraq thing was good. I'm pretty sure like the universal vote here in America between liberals and conservatives is that was bad. So it's sort of like, what are you trying to do here, Audie? And this is to answer my own question, because I actually do know where it all stems from. In that same article where I was talking about the JDF Power Rangers message, Audie, the interviewer asks Audie, like, tell me how this came about. Like, how did you?
What was going through your mind?
Yeah, it pretty much. Like, how did you link this idea of, the War on Terror and Devil May Cry? And Audie goes into the story, and he's, this is close to what he said, not verbatim, but he's saying, like, when I was, 16, I emigrated to America. 2 days later, 9/11 happened. And then about a couple months after that, I'm at my own place and I'm playing Devil May Cry. And all of a sudden, things just start connecting. So that's what he says. But check this out, Cider. Check this out. He literally said, whoa, speaking of 13-year-olds who think they're smart, but in the next sentence, Audie literally says, he goes, yeah, I was playing that and these memories just started, coming up. I haven't really dissected that. I should really see what that's about. And then he gets cut off mid-sentence by one of the voice actors who's like giving an interview with, it's not like anybody big. So I don't remember who it is, but I'm like, you can't just cut him. He just admitted that this entire thing is like his weird self-obsessed therapy connection thing, right? Like, I don't know who looks at Devil May Cry, which is not anything to do with anything political, like even in the basest sense, and goes, this needs to be about the War on Terror. That you can only do that if you are like sort of intentionally like, I want to tell a story about 9/11.
Well,
What do I
no,
use
Spencer.
for it?
No,
no,
you
hit
can
me.
do that because if you can only do that if Devil May Cry doesn't matter to you. That's the only way you can do that is if you played those games and the story had no effect on you whatsoever. That's the only way you can do it because you have to supplant the entire spirit of the game in order to start off the narrative of the anime with the complete retelling of hell.
But see, that's where I push back, or not push back, because you are right. With Audie, I think he's a fan, but here's the problem, which explains what you're talking about. And it goes back to what you were saying last week, and this is why I've been sourcing you for a while now, is that he is a fan of the surface level of what Devil May Cry is. He played the game and he said, cool, guns, cool, red guy in like a cool like red jacket with a sword. He saw the opening cutscene to Devil May Cry 3 where Dante gets gored by a bunch of spears and then, like hits the jukebox, catches the pizza box, is acting cool. And he goes, that is Devil May Cry to me, without interrogating, like, oh,
right.
Is that showing that Dante is this weird pseudo Deadpool? Or is that showing that Dante is, bored and he's just sort of entertaining himself, right? Like that. So he sees all the surface level stuff and goes, I need to make sure all of this is super serious to everybody. How do I make guy with gun and demons super serious? If you'd have sat there and you actually engaged with the story, you would already have that blueprint. You could have even done something that has some sort of weird societal message. I still would have disagreed with it, but if you could have married it better into the lore if you really, really, really wanted to, but he didn't, because he probably played 1 or 2 games, saw all the memes that were online and went, I know Devil May Cry. And like, to your point, this is something that Nerdigans talks about all the time, right? Which is tourism and people acting like they're authorities on this stuff without having any sort of actual relationship with what's going on. Investment's a good one too. Yeah, they see this stuff, it's popular, they go, oh cool, anime, oh cool, Sentai, and they watch it, but they don't try to engage with what it is. They go in with their preconceived notion of like, I'm only watching this because it's going to get me like cred. And that's why you see so many go like, oh, I had to pause that first episode of Gyouzuger because we need to have a talk about whatever. And you get all of those threads. So
we have
Well, it's not just tourists either. Okay.
What's that?
I was going to say, it's not just tourists. There's also the culture warrior grifting LARPers too that are trying to do this as well. And it's so annoying.
It's not going well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not going well for the LARPers.
We do have Kirby here saying, like an American unit carries a big flag into the midst of battle. And I was like, oh, that's right. We haven't done that since like the World War I. That was the last time we really did that. And it was like, so there's a conversation with the invasion of hell, right? And the vice president or whoever's in charge of this says, I want them to carry a giant battle flag. And they're like, why? We haven't done that since the Civil War. And he's like, he stands up and puts his fist down. He says, I want them to know who did it. You know,
they even, speaking of that, like, I forgot to mention this. So there is a they obviously, the villain is the vice president, but they have a president in this series.
President Yeehaw.
Yes. Like, have you seen him?
Like, he's just a fat guy.
Okay, good.
With a cowboy hat.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you'd seen it or if you just like perfectly nailed in on it, Cider. But yeah, the president in Devil May Cry is he's basically Doug Dimmadome. Before Doug Dimmadome's like before his facial hair goes white, because he's still got like a brown mustache, but he's Doug Dimmadome. Cowboy hat in the office. It's very much like, this is what I would have imagined if we were parodying Bush back in 2004, right? Like the yeehaw cowboy president. It's 2025. Like
look at this.
Mock Obama, mock Biden, mock Trump. You have so many Hillary. Come on, you have so many more relevant topics. But yeah, we get this instead. And literally, last scene of the series, as American Idiot is blaring and they're invading hell, the president gives this speech of like, my fellow Americans, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you, but it is true. Hell is real. Demons are real. And I tell you this not to hide the information, but so we can come together and deal with it as a nation. And I'm like, I actually looked up that entire script Because I'm
My
like,
fellow Americans, I want you to know that it is okay to piss, shit, and cum about this. All right.
In your pants is your right. But like, I literally looked it up because I was like, this has to be like a Bush era speech. Surprisingly, it's not. But I'm pretty sure if I really dug deep into it, I could find like 7 different speeches he like pulled from and like
Iraqis are crawling up from hell. They have nuclear weapons.
Well, like
mass destruction.
Because wasn't there? I feel like there's some speech out there where Bush was like, you know, the Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, and I tell you this not to like make you afraid, but to tell you like we're gonna. And I can't remember where it was. Was that on the?
No, it was about
carrier?
it was about the justification of going into Iraq.
That's right.
That Saddam had poisonous gas, and it wasn't to alarm us that could be used against us.
That's right.
We needed to head it off before it was. And to this day, we are trying to find those gas manufacturing places that are a danger to the world. One day,
we gotta find the guy who did this.
it's like that nuke we dropped over North Carolina. We just someday we'll find.
God, that I actually do live in fear of that. Like in my more intrusive thought moments, like that will pop in my head, and I'm like, we could all just die right now.
Oh no, you know, some brother up in Louisiana has that thing and cracked it open, turned it into a grill. You know?
Oh no,
bought it at a flea market.
Dude,
you know, is this thing real? I don't know. Found it on my property. It was a big hole.
The like radioactive core is what he puts under like the spit roaster.
Oh yeah, like the little Japanese apartment heaters that have the little little spiral thing that heats up with chemicals.
You know what? This whole thing is just really giving South Park. It totally is. And like the first thing that came to mind was Bigger, Longer, and Uncut when they went to war against Canada and Satan came and rose up. But they did it right though.
Exactly. They did that right. Right? Like they went, oh, we need to instead. So when Trey and Matt got that order, like, oh, we're gonna do a movie, they didn't go, oh man, we really gotta, think about how do we bring South Park to everybody else, right? We gotta tone it down. We gotta change the animation style. We gotta have, this, and that. They just went, we're gonna do South Park on the big screen. Done. Right?
Like, and they actually wrote about it too. That was the war. It was the war on censorship.
Right.
And that's what they were dealing with too.
The war on censorship. And then obviously hints of Desert Storm, because that had happened like 10 years before. So that is how you do, commentary, or I wouldn't even call Devil May Cry satire, because there's no humor in it, but commentary, right? You do it by being relevant, by being funny. If you're doing an IP, you do it by sticking to the core of whatever IP you are working with. You don't, like Cider said, go in and completely shred everything everybody liked about it. And yet this is the consequence of what I was talking about, where because nobody takes this stuff seriously over here, these are the people who are going to keep getting their projects greenlit. And the executives are going to be the ones who keep greenlighting it because this appeals to them, right? These there's probably 7 executives out in all of the studios who actually, if somebody sends them an email that says, hey Cider, we're going to be doing a Gundam movie, right? 8, that email gets sent to 9 people. 8 of them are going to go, cool. Let me think, let me go look at the cost. Let me go see if Sydney Sweeney's available. Cider would be like the one producer who goes, okay, let me actually read what Gundam is, right? And let me get into this. All those other normies just go, oh yeah, I would totally go see an Iraq war commentary. Like, oh yeah, I see how that applies. And it's just, there is the audience producer director, the audience creator disconnect, if you will, is just insanely massive, to the point where, slightly off topic, and I don't want to leave Devil May Cry yet, but Minecraft, right? So many pundits, so many analysts and consultants are like, how did this happen? How did Minecraft do so much business? How is it making so much money? How did that make money when Lion King and Snow White and Captain America didn't? And it's like, they're making all of these lists and they're trying to come up with all this rationale.
And they're checking them twice,
and they still don't know the answer, which is simply put, it's Minecraft. You did a good or not. I'm not going to say it's a good movie, but you at least translated. It looks like Minecraft, right? Like it looks like the game on the screen. Boom, you win. That's for that like level of audience. That's all you needed to do for a younger audience. Now, for us, of course, if we wanted a Devil May Cry movie or series or something, we'd need a little more than Devil Trigger from Jack Black or whatever. But we could still. I don't even know where I was going with that. I got myself distracted by my own chicken jockey joke. But we would want it to still be
true to the story. Because Minecraft doesn't have a story. Same with the Lego movie. They don't have like lore like Devil May Cry does.
No. Right.
So
exactly.
you can do anything you want with it. And the Lego movie is like the best example of what someone can do with creativity. And unlike Minecraft, actually have a good story.
That is like I will in the conversation that's going on around that movie right now, Nerdigans, like I am on that side of like, it is not a surprise why this movie made money. It is Minecraft.
Okay,
like,
we're gonna talk about it.
We need to talk about it.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about it.
So I go like, it's not a surprise. Like Minecraft made that movie, but then, I don't defend this movie. This movie's not quality. So to like Nerdigan's point, I wish we were getting more things like Lego Movie, which is what you would get if somebody really, really cared about the source material and cared about, respecting the spirit of that IP. Minecraft is what happens when you kind of just go nuts. And again, you didn't need, you could have just had Jack Black on loop for like 45 minutes and you would have still made $7 million. But kids do deserve better. Like that is an absolute fact.
Well, the thing that really sucks is you could have still had Jack Black play Steve, but it should have just been all animated. That's the problem, is that it was not animated.
Well, animated, something just a little less goofy. I mean, remember Jumanji?
Yep, that's what I was thinking of. The first Jumanji.
Literally do the same thing. I mean, I'm trapped in the video game. I get out of the video game like years later. Nobody's going to care here for spoilers, I don't think. But
this
at
could
the end
have
of
been
the
great modern day Jumanji. Like Jumanji 2, I haven't watched 3, but 2 actually did something very interesting with the video game.
Was 3 the one with Danny DeVito and Danny Glover?
I think so, yeah. Because 2 didn't have it. But like
that was a bad one.
Jumanji 2, like what they did for the update of Jumanji was they used a video game cartridge, which I think is smart. Like that's what Minecraft could have been. It could have been a modern day, a better version of Jumanji.
Like literally, Nerdigans, I don't know if you've seen it. I've not seen the movie, but at the end of, I've seen the post-credit scene. So at the end, Jack Black Steve gets out of Minecraft, and I guess that when he like entered the game when he was younger or whatever, he had some special secret chest full of special items or some MacGuffin of a chest in his room. And at the end of the movie, he goes back to the house and he like knocks on the door and he's like, "Hey, I'm Steve. I left something up in your attic. Can I like get it?" And I'm like, is that not the setup to Jumanji? Right?
That
like
is
even with the
straight up
attic and
Jumanji.
everything. And that's what Alan does at the end of the movie. He like goes back and he's like, "Hi, I'm Alan. I used to live here." And I'm just like, how did you screw this up so badly? Right? Like yeah.
Here's the thing. Sorry, I have a throat thing. Not that thing. Here's another thing. The situation that you're finding right now is that Minecraft has moved from being a movie into being a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, dude.
It has less to do with what's happening on the screen and more to do with what you can do to fuck with the movie theater now. Nobody's paying attention to what Jack Black is saying. They're waiting for the chicken jockey line so they can throw anything and everything. You see right here, a man has brought a live chicken into a movie theater. And you can see the tidal wave of popcorn and insanity that comes pouring out as soon as Jack Black says that. And this is what's driving the ticket sales this week, anyway, is that people want to go and trash a movie theater. Many movie theaters have come out and said, please don't do this. This is not helping anything. We don't think it's funny. We will stop the movie. You will be brought out of here. Charges will be pressed if you're destroying property. Which again, some people are apparently. So
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think I read a report where like at least one person's been arrested from a Minecraft. It was like a teenager who was like disrupting things, and the usher came in and was like, "Hey, you got to stop." And they like body checked her.
Might have been
And
one of these ones.
It might have been. And I'm just like, this is the way I've been describing this is, remember the Taylor Swift movie when we started getting all those videos of like the young girls would be up in their seats dancing, or they'd be in the aisles, like on the stairs, and they were all just, it was like a live concert. This is that for Zoomer boys. Like it is crazy, this phenomenon. And Cider is right. A lot of it is driven by the memes. One of the craziest videos I've seen so far, there's millions of them out there. You can go find them. But like a guy is just walking by the Minecraft, like he's in the like theater lobby, like walking to his theater, walks by when the chicken jockey like line comes. The shout is so loud that it comes out of the doors almost at the closed doors, almost at the same volume as if you were sitting inside the theater. It's bonkers.
Yeah, and that's again part of the experience. Now, initially, why this movie is working is for the same reason why our dumb 90s schlocky movies work. Anybody remember the Rugrats movie? That didn't make a hell of a lot of sense.
I love that movie though.
Well, try and go back and watch it now.
Right,
it makes like zero sense, you know.
Yes,
or as
good.
but see,
Right?
like that's what Cider and I are getting at is like, is it good, or are we allowed, or like are we able
Nostalgia
to enjoy it despite its flaws, right? Like,
you know,
for me and Cider, like you point to that Nerdigans, for me and Cider, I point to the Power Rangers movie. He and I both love it. It's not good. It's really
so
bad. But there's stuff in it we both love.
It's so bad that it's good.
Yeah, it ventures into B movie territory. It gets pretty close to B movie territory.
B movie was so fucking stupid.
But this right here is, it's meant for kids. It really is. It has that ADD energy to it. I've seen some Ham. And so, because I'm not paying money to go to a movie theater.
No.
And so what's happening here is that the kids are going to this, and they're going because Minecraft is a name they recognize. When they get in there, you are not playing the game. You are not watching some guy's Minecraft tutorial video on how to build something. They make it very clear right out of the gate that this is a fantasy story that is happening in a guy's like own private experience with Minecraft. And I think that helps sell it, because Minecraft is, as it doesn't have a story, it is whatever you make it. So Steve's story is that he got trapped in Minecraft. Your story may be that you didn't.
Yeah.
And so that's why it sells well with the younger kids who aren't engaged with the meme. The ones that are like engaged with the
I actually want to see Minecraft. Yeah.
Right. Mommy, I am the Minecraft kid. You have given me Minecraft birthday parties for the past 9 years. I would like to see the fat man say the chicken line.
And so, mommy's going, I just got your sister off of Minions. I can't do this. I can't do this again.
We can't do chicken jockey.
Oh yeah, then there was the Minions meme too. Remember that whole situation where they were coming in suits?
Well, it came through too to the boomers. So the boomers are now like dressing up as minions. You'll see like minion costumes at Trump rallies, and I just like want to bash my head off a concrete wall. Like I hate this timeline. So as you get into the movie, though, you notice Jason Momoa's character in the promotions is a gigantic idiot and self-centered. Well, that's the point of that character, is he's meant to have this older brother role in the movie. And he's trying to do well, but he's missing it. And he's trying to show off. He's trying to have that machismo. He's trying to be all the things at once. And he finds out, of course, a typical story doesn't need to do that. That's fine. Great. For kids, that is like, mwah, absolute cinema. My big brother learned a lesson. Absolute cinema. You know,
oh my God. I didn't even think about like my older brother who's a jerk to me.
And fucks with my Minecraft server.
Right, he learned a lesson in this movie. Whoa, dude. I didn't even...
That's
like,
what it is.
Legitimately like, whoa.
Right. Me and my friends saved the day. And our babysitter, the black lady who's loud, that doesn't know what's going on, is typically loud and doesn't know what's going on. And it fits all like the daily routine of a kid, but it throws it into this hyper realized 3D environment with, you know, the penis looking noses. And, you know, the kids love it because it's their world.
I'm surprised we didn't get any discourse over that. Like, yeah, Minecraft's like 20 years old, but I was like expecting it.
It's just not. It just hasn't hit the zeitgeist yet.
I guess hit the zeitgeist. You're probably right.
It's trapped with the teenagers, and the parents aren't quite looking at it hard enough yet to be like, "That's a penis."
Yeah, well, the parents are on their phone the entire time while that movie's going. They're like,
I can't believe my kid is enjoying this. Yeah, Jason Momoa is so ugly in this. How do you make Jason Momoa ugly? Oh my God.
That's what mommy is thinking 100%.
And that's how this is going. So like this is the story of the movie. So the kids are the heroes, they're the protagonists, they know what's going on, they know how to do things, they pick up the routine. Steve gives them the overview. It's Jason Momoa's character that keeps tripping over being like the in charge leader, protector,
Right.
sort of like overbearing presence. And he learns his lesson, that sort of thing. Steve gets his resolution, so everyone finally finds out the origin of Steve. If you're a player of Minecraft, you are Steve. When you first start out, you are Steve. And so this is the tale of how you got to the island. You don't, or the land that you've ended up on. Because in Minecraft, you just wake up on a shorefront or wake up on someplace on the map. That's how it is. There's no backstory of what happened, a shipwreck, spaceship, nothing. You just wake up. So now you know. And if you're 6 years old, that's like getting like the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah,
you know, you've now had like the Vatican Library open to you. Okay,
you know, like the deep lore now. Yeah,
right. You know, someone explained to you that Jesus Christ, you know, the painting there does not actually happen in real life, but it does depict the players that contributed to Jesus's death. You know, and that, and your brain's like, oh my God, you know. And meanwhile, it's just Jack Black saying, "Chicken jockey." And that's their Sistine Chapel, unfortunately, you know. But that's what happened to them, is that this is the maxim of their culture now. It's like this for them is that Power Ranger movie. They will look back on this 25 years later and go, this is so bad, but I love it. I remember when I was showered with popcorn and a chicken flew over my head at the movie theater. And my mom was complaining to her friends and she couldn't fuck Jason Momoa, you know, and that's
well, it's the exact same as like when we were kids and we got really into Pokemon, and my parents would do the, oh my God, we went to this Pokemon event. I didn't notice anything, but my parents were like, there's millions of people here. It's a frenzy. It's crazy. Like, it is one-to-one. This is their moment.
And they don't have a culture.
Like
you gotta remember.
They don't. This is their culture. Like, literally, this is it. Online, social
I wanted to
Minecraft.
bring up Skibbity Toilet while we're on these bizarre story things. You're going to see the same phenomena, though. We sit back and we say, man in toilet does not equal entertainment. But have you bothered to watch any of the Skibbity Toilet content?
Oh, it is.
It tells a really interesting story. I'm not lying. It looks
No,
like
you're
chaos.
not. I'm right behind you.
It's ADD-ified, but it tells a story of an alien invasion that's precipitated by a domestic aid. So it's essentially the Marvel Secret Invasion, but with
actually.
toilets from space.
And
it's
Gary's mod
bizarrely
phase,
deep. It's bizarrely deep, and all of the characters you see that have like appliances for heads have different jobs in fighting the invasion and the domestic side of the invasion. It is mind-bogglingly deep. When it's just skibbity toilet is all you see going around, and it's like, what is this?
Like thankfully, like I try to, you know, I try to avoid, because we always made fun of it when we were younger. Like, I try to not be that guy who goes like, all the things the kids like are stupid these days. So like, if I see something like Minecraft or Skibbity, I go, I don't get it. Good for you guys, right? I'm just like, I don't get it. Like,
I'm old.
Dad? Yeah, exactly. Like that's all for you guys. Like, I think Skibbity Toilet is also going to be one of those things that does even more gangbusters, right? Because that's big explosion and big, just like, that is more spectacle than Minecraft was.
Well, Michael Bay's working on it, so
that's what I mean. Yeah. Like that is he knows how to hit like the lizard brain in humans, and kids are just all lizard brain. So like, he's gonna like lock in.
So Leslie Tarkin asked, is Skibbity Toilet by Netflix? I believe Universal is the one that's producing the Skibbity
I think it's
Toilet
Universal.
Multiverse cinematic universe, by the way.
Oh my God.
We'll be seeing many Skibbity.
Does Bay have some sort of exclusive deal? Because like, aren't the Transformers, weren't they Universal?
I just think that he works well with them. That's usually what happens with these studios.
Yeah,
have a guy like Spielberg's constantly working with 20th Century Fox. That's his kind of spot.
And Universal, now that I think about it, like, they have more. They're the more spectacle driven. Yeah, theme parky. Fast and the Furious.
And there you go. You have Skibbity Toilet theme park rides. You're gonna get them. I'm sorry, you're gonna get them.
Well, they just shut down the studio, or not the studio tour, the Fast and the Furious ride over at Universal. I'm early, and I'm not as good at theme parks as our friends like Jonas and Vash over at TPP, but like, I feel it in my bones that the replacement is going to be a Skibidi toilet thing. Like I feel it. The timing is just all working out.
Sakuramita says Michael Bay trying to relive his early Transformers days. Well, I have bad news, Sakuramita. Skibidi Toilet, and most likely the franchise born out of it, will dwarf the Transformers franchise in its run. Now the problem is, the problem is that Transformers, the movies, came out 20 years after the show was a popular, huge zeitgeist moment in the culture. Okay, there just wasn't the force to create this franchise back with the animated series. They made that one movie and it was really stellar, and that was kind of the end run of it for them. They tried a couple more times and that didn't go as hard. But then Michael Bay came along and made these movies almost 20 years later. Just in time, Jacob's here and he's alive. How about
Hey! We're talking Michael Bay.
And Minecraft. And so Skibidi Toilet is going to come through while it is a cultural maxim for children. While
we
they
saw it with
are
Pokemon too. Just remember that we saw it with Pokemon the first movie, because that was it was the same year, within like a year or two of when when Pokemon became big in the US, if I remember correctly. I think it was within like the first year or so.
First year or two, because I would say like what they dropped in Japan, the games in Japan 96. I think they came America 97, movie 99. So somewhere, year and a half.
Yeah, I think the anime started like in 98.
Somewhere. Yeah, and we're delayed, so like that's where I'm getting confused, Nerdigans, is like I can't remember when it started in Japan versus America, but yeah, you are pretty much on point. It's like a year or two.
Yeah, and then you had Pokemon the movie 2000 after that. So like I think what Skibidi Toilet is doing and Minecraft is doing is probably following the Pokemon model.
It's true.
Whether it's a happy accident or not.
The live action situation's a little different because the Pokemon live action movie was a little bumpy. And this is obviously definitely aimed at children. They did not sit down and say, how do we get adult Minecraft fans to come see this movie? They did not. I think that was probably like a 2-minute conversation, and everyone looked at that guy and they were like, really?
And they're like, get out of here. Like who are you? Like, get out.
I play Minecraft, okay? I play Minecraft, and even I acknowledge that there should not be media made for adults regarding Minecraft, okay? And like collectible stuff, great, whatever. If you want to try it, go for it. But no way should we have an adult Minecraft movie.
At first, I'm just laughing at the idea of like mature Minecraft, like Steve says, fuck.
This
right?
Minecraft tutorial is rated M for mature.
Right. But then you went like, yeah, you can have collectibles. And then I started laughing to myself because I'm like, oh yeah, you could do a really nice Minecraft collectible. Iron Giant, right? They could do a Minecraft statue. But then I'm like, it's still just going to look like probably the basic toys because it's Minecraft. You can't really improve or like revamp that design.
Redesign it. You can't give that who's
the
the
like
guy
MCU treatment, if you will.
McFarlane. You can't give it the McFarlane redesign, you know. You're not gonna
Steve doing the like Spider-Man with his like leg up pose from that one cover.
Yeah, he's like holding the diamond pickaxe down over the side of one of those really hard angle gargoyles, you know.
Whoa, hard angles! Don't the Draculas.
Steve, vampire fighter, Minecraft vampire fighter.
One of the saddest. So like to everything that Cider is saying, like this is, that what Cider said about like the ticket sales this week being really driven by like that cultural moment, that meme, that maxim. It oh shoot, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, that is what is so. One of the funniest things about all of this post-release analysis from like critics and stuff is like a lot of them are now going like, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen. They're all going to try to analyze this and they're all going to try to emulate it, but you can't. This is just one of those lightning in a bottle moments. There is another universe where this movie came out. It still did good over that opening weekend, but this memery didn't take off, right? There's another universe where Minecraft still does well. It doesn't have that big of a base. Like that all exists out there. This just got lucky, sort of like with, but like how many times over the past few years have we seen all these studios come out and go like, don't like, this is going to be Barbenheimer 2. And it's like, you can't force that. Like that was a natural moment that people came to, right? Just like with Chicken Jockey, just like with everything else that's happening. I don't understand it, but clearly the kids there, that was the moment they came to. You can't replicate it. And if you try to replicate it, that's when you get Morbius, right? Like that's when you get things that are just
Morbin time.
When they released it twice into theaters.
Right. And this is like I said, made for kids. They did not sit down and try to be like, how do we keep mom and dad engaged? They were just like, no, we are not going to bother with that. We're going to count on the parents being checked out, being on their phones. So we're just going to sit there and just blast the kids with all the ADD stuff we could hit them with. Loose story. We're just going to do Jumanji with hard angles, and we're done with it. And that's what they did. And they did fine. I mean, when I was watching the advertisements, I felt a little insulted because in my mind, Minecraft's a little more fantasy, sword and sorcery. But for kids, no, it's just an environment to create chaos without repercussions. Why
Well,
not?
let's be real for a second here. Like the majority of modern entertainment that kids are getting is completely different than ours. They're like, think about the cartoons that have come out, like Uncle Grandpa, for example. That was just pure ADHD madness.
Brain rot.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Kablam, we had SpongeBob. Those things. That's sort of what I was saying, right? Nerdigans is like, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that pit that we always made fun of people for, of like, kids entertainment is worse today, because a lot of the stuff we loved as kids was really effectively highly stupid. Like we have to be able to admit that.
But look with SpongeBob though, SpongeBob is still being memed, for fuck's sake. In the first movie, like people are even already looking back on it are still calling it a masterpiece. I understand what you mean, but like modern SpongeBob now is like more of that brain rot ADHD stuff, where in the Hillenburg era it was less of that and it was more.
Nobody's disagreeing with that. It's just like you got to like take in the whole landscape, because like, well, you get bad stuff like that. There's got to be something. I don't know any kids' entertainment.
Well, I mean, I think our generation's brain rot was Ren and Stimpy. You guys remember that show back in the day?
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy's gonna be that'll be a brain rotter of it. Like the log. Like I used to just say log out loud, like to my parents all the time, and they probably thought I was retarded. I mean, I am, but they thought I probably couldn't speak more than one word because I loved that joke so much.
Then there's the Rocco's Modern Life levels of insanity, where it was like ADHD insanity, but like I feel like it was done better than like say Ren and Stimpy.
So the Rocco ADHD, what you're talking about, it's what it is it's like a lot of flashy, or not flashy, but like a lot of animated like movement and things happening on screen that really entertain the kids. But if you are 13 or older and you just listen for a second to like what they're saying, it has this really like, whoa, that joke is pretty risque. That's a pretty high level joke.
Yeah.
In SpongeBob nowadays, you have that animation and then it just goes like, okay, now the joke is he made funny face, which is like, okay, if that works for kids, that works for kids. Sure.
Here's hyper detailed creepy Mr. Krabs.
That is like one of the favorite jokes like from this era. But to your point, Cider, I wanted to bring this up because you're saying the whole thing you were saying about like, this is Steve's journey. It's not saying like this is the player's journey. This is just one other person's journey. I saw this discussion happening on Twitter, and like I think that's probably the way you do good adaptations of video games, right? You tell a different story in the same setting. Look at a lot of the ones that are super successful. Cyberpunk Edge Runners, right? That's in Cyberpunk, but it's not saying this is the events of 2077. It's saying this is a whole other thing that's happening on this other side of the country or other side of the city. Sure, right? It doesn't come in over the characters you had, over the experience you had. And I think even Sonic kind of does that, right? Where Sonic, instead of going with the video game plot of going through all the zones and then just fighting Botnik, it takes you to the real world. And yeah, we can all have a discussion on whether that was the right choice or not, but that like I think that made it more palpable to a lot of at least the like super hardcore Sonic fans.
It made it cuter. That's the biggest problem.
I think so.
Is that when you go running Sonic through all those harsh environments where he's got to meet challenges and he's got all these robots he's got to fight all the time to survive, it takes you out of the cute, cuddly guy discovering his identity because he's 12 years old kind of space that they wanted to put the character.
Yeah.
And so
no, I agree.
I don't like Sonic in the real world because it just reeks of Roger Rabbit to me. And so I'm just kind of stuck like that's a CGI character, that's a real man, stop doing this. And but for kids they love it because they're like, my little kid brain can't tell a difference. This is real life. Somewhere in the world, there's a blue hedgehog eating chili dogs, riding around with a sheriff's deputy. This is great.
I mean, we believed King Koopa had that little tiny head for like all of our lives, right? And
Yeah,
we believed
right.
his name was King Koopa. This isn't Japan, okay? This is Bowser territory.
And that's where we're at, is that like the new zeitgeist has started to take root now, finally. And this like adult kid audience that they keep pitching toward, this modern audience they keep pitching toward, well, they finally built it, but they're 5 years old, not 35. Okay. So the people that'll eat all this weird junk with whatever the hell's going on with Momoa over here, wherever I'm pointing, you know, whatever's going on with this guy, they'll eat that up because that's funny. That's not a trans person. That's not a gay man. That is just a guy wearing a pink jacket to them. They don't have any political connotation behind that. That has no deeper meaning to them than, haha, man wearing pink jacket. That's it. And so that's why you see that there. And you get conservative pundits that come out and be like, they're trying to brainwash the kids with trans Jason Momoa. You know, and for me, and when I was first looking at this,
I haven't seen that, but that is the reaches. That is a Reed Richards level reach. Good.
When I was, yeah, right. Well, when I was first looking at this, I was like, why is he wearing eyeliner?
Hi, George.
That's really weird that he's wearing eyeliner. And then I saw the hat cam clip of who he is, and he's this insecure guy like Adi Shankar. And what do you know? Adi Shankar walks around with eyeliner, and I was like, son of a bitch.
I don't know. When I first saw him, I think, at least on my end, I immediately got the like try hard, like past his prime rock star sort of vibe from him, right? Like he's way old, he's wearing a pink jacket, he's wearing eyeliner. You're trying too hard, man. Like, let it go.
And again, like, this is the Rugrats movie. It is not, this is the Power Rangers movie. It is not meant to massage the adult mind. It is meant to massage the child mind. So it works very well, and it'll be very successful, and probably have 5 more movies that come out of it that have nothing to do with each other. This would be the smart thing to do, is sever this off here. Steve's Stories is over. It's done. We know where Steve came from. He got home. He got back to the room. Done. Now we go back to the Minecraft world and tell a story about the female character that I forget her name.
Alex,
and we tell Alex, we tell Alex's story, and she's on the other side, and she's caught in the snow. So you have like Minecraft, Frozen Empire. Get it? From
So first of all, that's how I think we should be handling lots of these things. Like,
yeah,
like we should be doing more. And if you want to do like a franchise, start doing more anthology stuff. I think that's a really good way to do it. Bad news. They're already talking about a sequel, and that end credit scene that I was talking about earlier, the person when he goes to the house, the person who answers the door is Alex. So like they're going to team up or whatever in the next one. So none of that's going to happen. I know that we were just pitching that out there, but I just wanted to let you know, like, unfortunately.
And Leslie points it out here that it's the first movie in a very long time that has sat down and said, little boy, what would you like to get out of Minecraft? Yes, there are female characters in here, but it's not leaning into what Barbie was trying to do with that kind of self-identity thing. Steve is simply clarified as who he is in like, he's a character that ended up trapped here, isekai'd, and the rest of it's just kind of that hit you over the head with symbolism thing.
Yeah, see, I don't read that the same way. Like, I wouldn't even put this in the same conversation. To me, none of this isn't about, let me speak to boys, let me speak to girl. Like, this
no.
This is just, dude, kids. Like, kids love this stuff. When Skibbity comes out, you're gonna see a 50-50 audience numbers, because like girls love that stuff too. It's the generations are different. It's always ever evolving. So like, I think trying to compare this to Barbie, they're just two completely different objectives.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to get at, though, is that when I talk about this, is that it's made for boys in the sense of like, Minecraft is very much a boys franchise. There are girls that interact with it.
No, I don't agree with that. I'm sorry.
Minecraft?
I know way too many kids, like young kids. I saw my niece when I was growing, or not my niece, my younger cousin. She would invite all of her friends over, and they would jump on Minecraft. Lots of the big Minecraft streamers are female. Like, Minecraft, there is no gender discourse that you had with Minecraft at all. We can have talks about statistics. Hold on, Nerdigans. We can have talks about statistics and say, do more boys play Minecraft than girls? And the answer is probably going to be yes, because more boys play video games than girls anyway. But to start saying like, this is for boys, this is a message for boys, it's not for girls. I don't think that's at play here at all. This is just for Minecraft kids. Like, they said, you like Minecraft? Here's Minecraft.
I mean, I'm kind of out of the loop with the whole Minecraft thing. I mean, obviously it's been around forever, but at no point have I had any real genuine interest to ever get into Minecraft.
I tried it
at
once.
all. It's just not my thing. So it's like I don't really know much about like the fan base of Minecraft to like stake like one side or another. As far as the movie goes, the way that I kind of been paying attention to this over the last couple of days is that the professional reviews came out first, and then when the professional reviews came out first, everyone was saying that this is probably the dumbest thing they've ever seen in their entire life, because professional reviewers are probably our age or older, right? So
right, yep.
As that went on, and the people came out there, all of a sudden everyone's going to go see this movie. It was kind of like, why is everyone going to go see this movie, especially with the reviews being as bad as it is? It's because that, like I said, realized very, very quickly that we were not the target demographic for this film. Yeah. That this target demographic is way, like I said, I hate to sound, cynical, but I mean, it's true to an extent. This is basically Brain Rot the movie, and we're not in the Brain Rot the movie demographic here. So a lot of the stuff in this whole film, this whole phenomenon, is just not going to appeal to us. I'm pretty sure you guys showed the videos of people throwing popcorn and all kinds of crap, and in these movie theater screenings. It's like, God bless all of those adults who had no idea what they were getting into watching this movie, because it's like they just got a bunch of like Gen Zers screaming chicken jockey while throwing
Now I'm just imagining, like, because like you and Rob and like Rick, like you'll go watch a movie on your own for the review show. So I just imagine like Rick going into like, okay, let's Minecraft for the show. Yeah. Zero idea what's about to happen.
No, and of course it's basically an MCU movie on steroids. From as far as that goes.
Like if you went in, Jacob, and you started seeing like Zoomers walk in, you'd be like, oh, something's happening. Like it's about to get wild, but Rick's gonna be in there like, ooh, very, very popular.
It probably wouldn't go over very well in my movie theater, because all the older people who aren't in on the joke would immediately be like, shut the fuck up, and then there'd be like fights, and then it would get very ugly very fast.
Oh, speaking of fights, like more altercations and police called to Minecraft than Joker. Like
yeah. More legitimate mischief in the movie theater at the Minecraft movie than the Joker movie.
We were just playing a video here a few minutes ago of a man who brought a live chicken into. I can't find it now. I don't know where.
People are getting legitimately arrested at these screenings now. This is how bad that it's gotten. But so, like I said, it's lightning in a bottle in a couple of instances. We're just at a time period where, and I think you guys mentioned this before, there aren't any genuinely good movies. Now, I'm not saying this is legitimately a good movie, but generally, there aren't a lot of good movies out there. Theaters are otherwise struggling. Nothing is really capturing anyone's eye right now. Like, they're trying to milk as much of these like name franchises as they can. They're not pulling anyone in. There's no new movie ideas that are pulling anyone in. So at this point, we have a generation that is basically just stake on name value, because you mentioned it yourself. It's like we're at this point now where this current generation, they haven't experienced anything truly original at this point. They're being fed remakes, not even good remakes, terrible remakes of stuff that we already did about 30, 40 years ago. And this is their form of entertainment now. So in a lot of ways, you can kind of look down at it and be like, really, this brain rot is what's getting everyone into like the movie theaters. But at the same time, it's like, what is the alternative for this generation? We provided them absolutely nothing, to the point where, Jason Momoa out here looking like a 1970s mid-Carter is the best thing that's going out here in theater. This is where we're at now. So it's like, we have to start realizing that everything that we've done to the movie industry in the last 15, 20 years is we're now realizing the consequences of it.
We're reaping
this is part
it.
Of it. Yeah.
I want to highlight what you just said there. We haven't given this generation really anything. I was talking with some friends, and like they brought up the point of, think about all the things we get in terms of what Jacob is saying with like reboots and relaunches. It's all stuff we're nostalgic for, our parents are nostalgic for, our grandparents, and that's for our gen. Like, think about them. All the stuff they're getting, Power Rangers Once and Always. Okay, that was 30 years before my time, and maybe my uncle likes it or my dad likes it, but I don't care. So like, or what was that? Ryan Gosling movie that he did, the like the stuntman one that I guess.
Oh
was
yeah,
based-
the nice guy, something like no,
that's the
is
good
that
one.
it?
No,
The Fall Guy, the Fall Guy.
Yeah,
that's the
Fall
name.
Guy. I knew we all had it like in our heads. We just didn't get the name, but like that, right? Everybody that looked like that was being marketed as, oh, it's the reboot of the thing, and it's like I've literally never heard of Fall Guy, and I know a lot of this stuff. Even my dad, like my stepdad, he was like, oh, I watched that I think when I was a kid, maybe, and it's like when you keep regurgitating that. Us as the audience who actually knows it, we're all done with it. We're like, cool, we had our nostalgic romp a couple years ago. We're fine. These kids, zero. That's why things like Minecraft will pop off because, like what Jacob said, yes, it's an IP movie, but this is the only that's an original thing for kids. And I try to think of other original things for them. And what do I land on? I land on Minions. I land on
Jurassic World is still big in a lot of circles.
That you and I have talked about that because it's one of those things where it's like those movies aren't good. That's it.
Yeah.
That literally just something in all of our brains or like humanity's brains, because I don't go see these movies, but like in humanity's brain just clicks when they see dinosaur and it does $7 billion.
All we have to do is look at Super Sentai, dude. Like they've done like 5 dinosaur teams.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Everybody loves dinosaurs.
So another problem, and you can see this in a kind of a multitude of franchises right now, is that we're at this weird impasse point between, especially these franchises that have been around forever, between the newer fans of the franchise and the older fans of the franchise, and they are not clicking together in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. A perfect example of this I can use is that, remember about 10 years ago when MTV tried to reboot TRL? Some of you guys may remember this. It was they tried to reboot TRL in like 2017.
Like what Jacob is about to tell you, it's so sad. Like it is hello. Just get it. It's bad.
It's bad. So for people who are old enough to remember TRL in its heyday, right? Like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was a show where it's like, okay, let's get a bunch of teenagers and young college kids that call in and request their favorite music video. We'll play it on the air, and after a certain amount of days we'll retire and whatnot. That was kind of the concept, right? And they had people do, promotionals and all that stuff. So it was a cultural thing for people who grew up in that late 90s, early 2000s thing, and then it died off, right? YouTube had a lot to do with it. The fact that MTV simply wasn't playing music videos anymore had a lot to do with it. It was effectively over by like 2005. So they canceled it a few years later, moved on. Now you're bumping it up about 10 years after that to 2017, where, okay, now you're in a very awkward position because anyone who's old enough to remember TRL at this point in time is probably in like their mid 30s, early 40s, and they don't care about music videos anymore, especially if you're just going to play current day music videos, which they don't want.
That was okay. I know we all understand business. Like, yeah, if you're going to do a new show, you do promo like newer stuff, but that was one of the most bizarre things it was nothing from like the old era. Like you say, we're reviving this thing from the 90s that you remembered from the early 2000s. No, where's no doubt, right? Like,
yeah. Where's it? So you have nothing to offer the old fans who actually grew up in that time period and recognize the name value. On the flip side, you're trying to push this towards the Gen Z demographic here who have no context of TRL whatsoever. So the name TRL means absolutely nothing to them, and you're not even providing them a similar format to get accustomed to with that name. So it's basically just a show, and there's no reason for them to watch it. So it's like you got two, like who is this for? Who is this legitimately for? And it seems like no one tried to even figure out, okay, who's going to be our target audience here? Because the older group that remembers TRL are way too old to care about modern day music. And then younger generation have no context of these artists to even care about, oh yeah, let me figure out what Ed Sheeran is doing like at this point in time, right? Like no one cares, right? It's the same thing with pro wrestling. I've talked about this a lot of time too. You have, those old school fans who grew up on like the Hulk Hogan era or the Steve Austin era, even at some point the John Cena era back then, depending on when you were watching, right? And those old guys are kind of like aging out now. And then you have this new demographic who, I mean, they're basically being fed kind of a watered down version of what the other eras were, which are far better. But because this is all they have, they cling on to this and then they despise everything. So you just have these two dueling fan bases in the same franchises, and they're just at complete odds in one another, and you're not presenting any kind of product that satisfies both sides at this point. You're just fracturing your fan base even more, and at the end of the day, that's not going to help you progress anything moving forward. And we're kind of at that point with a lot of franchises where either one side is completely rejecting what's coming out now because they like what was going before, or vice versa, or they're just not finding any middle ground between these two sides to bring both these sides together at all.
Well, a lot of what you're talking about in like the business sense, especially with the audiences, is we've seen this with pretty much everything, wrestling, video games, yada, yada, is they take us, like the people who have been here, who are fans still, we watched it as kids, we're still whatever. They take us for granted. They go, you guys are going to buy it no matter what. Like, we don't care. So they put all of their effort into appealing to the Zoomers. And then all of us go, okay, this sucks. And most of us with sense go, all right, I'm dropping this book, or I'm not going to watch this show anymore. Some people might do it out of habit, but that's a lot of what it is. The other thing I wanted to note is the other element of what made that TRL reboot so bad, Jacob, that I think you missed is one of the big original appeals of TRL back in the 90s, 2000s was you got to request a specific song, right? Like I could go, I want to hear Blink-182, What's My Age Again? I can't go on the radio. I don't have the cassette around or whatever. Let me go on TRL. Okay, cool. I can hear the song. Then the other appeal was like, I'm on TV, right? Like, because you could hear yourself. Like you got on and Carson would be like, hey, how's it going, Jacob? You'd be like,
oh my name is Josie. I live in blah, 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 Michigan. I want to say I'm a big Eminem fan. Yeah. Like, remember those little things?
Well, Josie, then just for you, we have Without Me coming up clean here on TRL. But so like that was the big appeal. You bring it back, and in the age of like streaming, like I could go on Apple or YouTube or Spotify or whatever, and I can stream Blink, right? And then the appeal of like getting on TV doesn't really hold in this generation because they have streaming, they have YouTube, right? They can go live themselves. And a lot of people, guys, aren't thinking like, oh, I don't have the same professional setup as TRL or whatever. Go look at like the depths of YouTube videos with like 3 views. People are confident. People will go, here's, Jacob's TRL episode 97, and he could be shooting it like vertical and only have 3 viewers a show, and he'll still keep doing it. So like that's there, like Jacob said, when you just go, all TRL had at that point was, we're TRL. Yay.
Yep.
And then, like Jacob said,
you guys remember TRL from 20 years ago, right? Like, no, that's
Mom,
the problem.
Do you remember this? Yeah, like,
yeah, exactly. Because the screaming, like, 20-year-old girl who was screaming about Backstreet Boys in 1998, she's like 42 now. So she's not going back to watch TRL in 2017 anymore. That time is long past.
I think that like there's another discussion to be had here about like, I think something happened to all of humanity in the last like 20 years. Maybe it was like the widespread of the internet. I feel like all of our time perceptions have just been obliterated. Because like, at least even on my end, I legitimately go like, oh yeah, Infinity War and Endgame, that was only like 5 or 6 years ago. It's like 10, right? And I know that's what a lot of these executives are doing.
No, I hate to tell you, that's just getting old. That's what being old is. That's what being old is. When you're a kid, time is very regimented. You go to school every year. So you have like a coder in your brain that says, no, this happened last year because I was
Put it to you this way. There was a time period not that long ago where you remember looking back at the 90s. It was like, wow, that was 10 years ago, the 90s, right? Now you're looking back now, you realize, wait, that was 30 years ago.
there used to be this joke, like when I was on, like when I would use 4chan in the early 2000s, there was always this joke that would be making fun of that feeling. And it would be like 1990 was like 74 years ago. I think Cider knows what joke I'm talking about. And those always made me laugh. And now it's like actually getting to that point. Like 1990 was 35 years ago.
Like there was literally a meme like at the very beginning of the year. It was brilliant. It was a like one of those like liquor store owners, and he was carding a person, right? And it's like, "Are you 21?" It's like, "Yeah, I was born in 2004," and it's just like the reality hit it so hard. So I was like, "Oh crap!"
Like, nope. Like I'm done here. Like I'm done. Gone.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I grew up around a lot of old people, and you wouldn't believe it, but that happened a lot to them. Like they constantly, like my dad was born in 1929. You want to talk about like that was then?
No, yeah.
Like he's like talking to me about the death of Elvis, like he's saw it on television.
He's on like his like iPhone 3, like the very first one we all had. He's like, just yesterday, do you remember? And it's like, Dad.
Well, look, he called the computer the devil box. He wasn't wrong, that's what he called it. He wrote one email in his life, a single email in his life, and it took him a half an hour to write a sentence. So
I mean, look, there's people.
Literally, that was it.
Put it to you this way:
how he typed.
there's people who are older than us who still remember the exact moment where John Lennon got shot, right? And for our generation, we're thinking about who the hell is John Lennon. So you can only imagine trying to explain that context to someone in Gen Z.
Is that the communist Lennon?
Who's probably never even heard of like Ja Rule or Nelly.
Nelly's the guy that peed on that fella, right?
Right, exactly. There is a joke in a recent episode of that Seth MacFarlane show, American Dad, where the dad, like Stan, he goes back to an old skee ball place that he used to go to a lot, and he notices that the like his score has been replaced, and he's really like, oh my god, like I got to get my legacy back. And so he tries and he can't do it, and he notices that like the kid who beat his score is hanging out in the arcade. So he's like, I'm gonna come up with a plan to like get him out of here to screw him. And so he goes up to the guy at the counter and he goes, hey, you got to help me. Like this guy's score should be disqualified. Not only did he cheat, but he did 9/11. And he holds up like a really crude drawing of the kid like planning 9/11. And
I love American Dad.
Oh, it's like one of my favorite shows. But then the guy behind the counter goes, sir, first off, you have to tell me what 9/11 was. And it's just like, damn, that is where we're at.
Yep. Well, it's like Leslie points out here, like the 80s. I got bad news for you. 90s is the oldies. 90s is the oldies.
Oh, God.
You'll hear now it's time for the 90s and today's music. And then Blink 182.
In all honesty, Cider, we passed that point like 10 years ago. You play they're playing Avril Lavigne now on the oldie station. And that's
Skater Boy is classic rock now.
I legitimately remember like 10 years ago, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm in college, and I just have one of those thoughts like someday the music we're going to listen to is going to end up there. And like 10 years ago, driving down like the road for some reason I didn't have my phone, so it's radio time. I'm scanning, hit the oldie station in San Diego, literally Cider. It was All the Small Things, and I just went. I had to turn off. I had to have like one of those like silent drive to the rest of like where I'm going. So I was like, I can't.
Just wait till the next song they play on the oldie station is Rihanna "Shut Up and Drive." You'll have to pull over all together, just stop and reflect.
Like the cop pulls up behind you, like, you have an emergency? Yes, I am.
the cop, you roll down. The cop says you have an emergency. I am, and then he just hears the music, and he's like, "We've got like an octogenarian like on his like last legs. We need to get him to the hospital right now."
No, he just rolls down the window and looks at the guy. Just says, "This is classic rock," and then the guy listens to the song. He's like, "Mother God."
My God.
Right?
Well, speaking of oldies, can we talk about the Power Rangers interview where the writer is straight up white knighting,
especially with
lying
Jacob here? Yeah,
and like, because like I saw this and I was like, wait, I know Walter Jones didn't say any of this. He said he wanted to play the Black Ranger.
Nobody. So let's get into it. Who wants to take it? Do you want it, Nerdigans? Do you want it, Cider? Do you want it?
I just want to put a quick little note here, and I'll let Cider take this one. For the record, and I posted this on Twitter, there has never been a single Power Rangers fan who has ever cared about this controversy
Yes.
whatsoever. Somebody keeps bringing this up like every 5 years and tries to make it a thing. No one cared. No one cared then. No one cared 10 years ago, 20. No one has ever cared about this. And it gets to a point when it's like, look, let it go, guys. No one cares that the black guy was the Black Ranger. No one cares that the Asian girl was the Yellow Ranger. Guess what? Everyone loves Zach. Everyone loves Trini. Everyone loves Walter Jones. It's never been an issue ever at any point.
Like even the black community like responded to. If you look at the responses, you'll see it. Like they were like, "Dude, we like Zach. We wanted." To
And you
see
know
him."
what? For the longest time, they were mad when they replaced him with a white guy. People were upset. So let go.
They didn't see him as Asian. They didn't see. They were
No,
like,
no.
Johnny, that's a white name.
Oh,
even though that is the most American
Wow.
Asian name. But anyway,
That sounds like the most generic name on earth, really, aside from Lee. But
or what is that line from Superbad? Muhammad's the most common name on earth. Pick up a book sometime.
Right? Yeah, there we go. It's John
Oh,
and
that
Muhammad to
foreshadowing.
the end of the earth. But
Dude, that joke aged so well.
Oh
so here it is. Entertainment Weekly covers Tony Oliver, not Tommy. Tommy is a character that Tony had a hand in creating. And Tony Oliver is a former head writer of the Power Rangers Mighty Morphin series, and he declares that he is embarrassed that the black actor and the Asian actress were casted as the Black Ranger and Yellow Ranger, respectively. Even though, as discussed here, Walter Jones has publicly explained on Facebook anyway that he did not, in fact, have any problems with. Excuse me, he talked to Glenn Beck about it, I guess, and I don't know how that happened.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like what kind of chicken was Glenn Beck selling that he needed Walter Jones' help?
Where
you
did
know?
that crossover happen? Seriously, like what?
Somewhere in the Texas desert.
that was not the name I was expecting you to drop after that. Like
high above the Nevada.
Walter
plains.
Jones would be on the Joe Rogan Experience here in just a couple.
Yeah, right. That's where they met. They were like in the waiting room. together.
Joe, Rita's not a legend. It's real. We actually did that, Joe.
So, yeah.
It'd
We
just be
went to
like
the
Joe
movie, killed a
Rogan.
bitch.
Joe Rogan's gonna be like, Jamie, pull up the Power Ranger, but you weren't in the movie.
Yeah, they're watching the trailer and Walter's just like, And then Joe Rogan's like, hey man, I didn't see you in there. What happened?
Or
But
they're
by
just
the
gonna
way-
pull up like Power Rangers Turbo or something, like just a random later season that just not even related to the Mighties at all.
Every time.
There was a great scene from Con from like years ago. It was Walter Jones, Jason David Frank, and I want to say it was Steve Cardenas. I'm 50-50 if he's the last guy on the panel, but they were basically asking us like, yeah, tell us about your experience from shooting the Power Rangers movie. And Walter Jones says, yeah, it was great. I realized he wasn't even in the movie.
It was the best.
Like I saw something that like Walter Jones liked fucking with the studio people about him being black and playing the Black Ranger, and I'm like, I would not be surprised that if he was just joking about it just to piss him off.
Well, and this is where the controversy lies, is that as Jacob outlined, as we have all had our giggly laughing fit about here with this concept, is that until people wanted to make an issue about these characters being represented under these colors, it did not matter. And in fact, one of the saddest things about this is that the studio has been the only one to care about this, because since this casting was carried out, they have avoided repeating it like the plague. So in fact, they'll parody themselves with it, and then they'll make sure that the Asian character is wearing black and that the black character is wearing yellow, just to make sure that they are completely avoiding that original oopsie doodles by their measure. Even though, again, as Walter explained, no one on set ever said, you're the Black Ranger because you're black.
Even growing up, right? Like talking to everybody, this is sort of it's very reminiscent of that concept we always talk about of like the bar joke, right? Like wouldn't it be funny if Superman had to do taxes, and you laugh for a second and then you don't make it into a movie, but that's what it feels like, because you would bring it up. I remember bringing it up when I'm younger. You have that realization. You go, do you ever notice this to your friends? And the most response you get is like, huh, whoa, how did they not catch that? And you go like, yeah, crazy, right? Like funny. That's it. Like nobody ever put any other stock into this except for the studio, like you said, which is just why. Like that's what I question about this particular interview, Cider, is like, so yes, this guy was a writer on Mighty Morphin. Tommy Oliver is named after him, and I just learned this, I just looked it up, but he was the voice of Saba, so he at least had a right, so he had a role there in the Ranger show. But it's like, why are you even talking to him right now about this? Why is he even bringing it up? There's nothing Power Rangers happening. As Cider and I go through every week, it's a dead brand. There's like, why are you bringing it up? This almost feels like a bygone relic of like 2012, right? Where just people would come out of the woodwork.
Side. This is the flip side of that. I'm getting old. This is that I remember this. I remember not caring about this. Why am I 40 years old now being forced to care about this thing that I didn't care about when I was 10? You know, and that's, you know, it's the flip side of this. But it's even like, it's even more, it's like, I feel like it's worse than that, because a lot of times when that happens, admittedly, like, though the discourse does get really stupid around a given subject, there are times when you go like, oh, I didn't realize as a kid that was actually, you know, intended as, you know, what a racial caricature or whatever, right? And you learn, you go, okay, I understand it now. Maybe, you know, it doesn't change your appreciation of something, but you go like, oh, okay, I get it now. Yeah, we read it wrong, but at least I can acknowledge it and move on. This was not one of these. This is, like you guys, like we're all saying, nobody cared about this. This doesn't need to be brought up. This is just like Adi Shankar, right? War on Terror criticism in 2025, Yellow Ranger, Black Ranger discourse in 2025. What are we doing here?
I do want to point this out too, because when we were growing up, this was like the post-civil rights movement era. So I think our parents like raised, at least my parents anyway, raised us to not see skin color like that, and just to focus on, you know, the person's character.
Yeah, the person.
Yeah. So I think that's why it was like that for us, especially, at least for me anyway, is that we just didn't see color like that. And now activists now are trying to push like this race, reverse the civil rights movement. I don't think they mean to do that, but that's what they're doing.
No, that is exactly what they're doing. And it's something we have seen for, like, I would almost argue that sentiment, that flip, Nerdigans, is probably why 97% of us on the panel, in the chat, you know, who view Bounding, who hang out with us, I'm sure like that's a big reason of why we got into this, because yeah, when we were younger in the 90s, early 2000s, the lessons that were being put on TV were like, yeah, that person might have a different skin color, but you look at them as a person, you engage with who they are. Yes, like that's what you're supposed to do. And then in 2014 or whatever, it started going into, oh no, you can't just treat us differently or like the same. You have to acknowledge that all of this stuff happened. Like, they overcomplicated it. And you're right, that's where we got to now. And that's sort of like what I always fight about, because I thought we were on a good track. Of course, it wasn't perfect. Of course, there was always going to be, you know, turmoil. That's just the nature of the world. But when you had things like Power Rangers and you had people, you know, there's a black character, I don't care that he's black, he's cool. There's an Asian character, I don't care that he's Asian, that's cool. There's a white character, I don't care that he's white, that's cool. That to me was like a positive movement. And now, you know, as a kid, I loved Zach. I loved the fact that he could like.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Nobody even knew that Austin St. John was part Native American. It's like 15 years after that show ended.
No, Jason David Frank. Jason David Frank is part Native American. I didn't know.
And even those, I don't believe. I see your pictures. No, I'm kidding. But like that's exactly it, right? Like. We have devolved, Nerdigans. You're absolutely right. And while their objective in their mind is like, I don't know, understanding, they are really reversing everything.
I mean, look at what when we were growing up with Static Shock and Proud Family, those were primarily Black stories, but a lot of us still were able to relate to it. And the best example of this is look at Richie, the episode with his racist dad. That is like what we were taught when we were younger. and instilled to us when we were younger.
See,
This generation doesn't have that.
Well, they do, but that is sort of what I'm getting at. It's a difference in the way they approach this, right? In that old episode with Richie's dad being racist and also slightly homophobic towards his son, like what's his name? Static's dad, when he was like talking to him and talking to his son, the lesson he gave him, like that he gave to the audience, was like, there are going to be bad people out there. There are going to be racists, and like you have to, meet them and do what you can, but just like, have pride in yourself, because you got to just sort of let them ferment in their hate. Nowadays, instead of it being like an individual sort of lesson there, it would be like, yeah, Static, you're going to have to understand that all white people are going to have some sort of bent towards us, even if they say they don't. And that is insulting, because it's not inviting you to learn or interrogate yourself. It's telling you, right? Like, you're racist. It doesn't matter. And no, like, that doesn't work for anything. It doesn't work for anything. Just telling somebody like, you do that. Most people are going to say, I don't like that.
Yeah, the art of salty is kind of dead right now in media.
Well, I mean, we see it all the time. If a villain is depicted, people legitimately want like the movie or comic book, like, stop. Hi, my name is Spider-Man. I'm here to tell you that, breaking train rails to cause like an explosion, that's very bad. Do not do that. Even though Doc Ock's doing that, I'm here to tell you, don't do that. That's morally bad. Like, we are in very, very dire times with media literacy.
Well, speaking of media literacy, though, we do have Sakuramita sending some memes over.
Sakura!
This is the creator of Sailor Moon strangling Hayam Saban for an attempt to keep her manga out of America. Apparently, that happened at some point. I'm not sure that at all, because I didn't really get into Sailor Moon that heavy.
I think what Sakura is doing here is he's presenting like an alternate reality, which is like, instead of like what would it be if Saban got his hands on Sailor Moon?
Oh, okay. And so this is us reacting to the terrible promotion of it, and apparently there is Sakuramita avatar lighting the Power Rangers on fire.
It could be worse. It could be Nintendo.
Yeah. And Time Force, Ninja Storm, and Dino Thunder SPD all being destroyed.
Those don't exist. They just don't.
No, Aaron Cahill, no.
And then the career graveyard is Hayam Saban's pretty much over with. 4Kids, I didn't know this, but they left in 2017, so they're gone.
Yeah, I forgot they had like one last like big show, and I was like, really? And then they were like, this is the last one, and I'm still like, who gave that to you? Like, who thinks this is a good idea?
Disney's investment in superheroes, and Adi Shankar would be the career graveyard at the bottom of the ocean.
He's still got a career, sadly.
Yeah, he's gonna do Berserk. They're gonna give him Berserk. They're gonna give him Berserk. There's no way they don't do that. After what he did in Pennsylvania and what he's done with this, they're definitely gonna give him Berserk.
Well, he's trying to like adapt like almost every Capcom property. I think that's his goal in life.
He did pitch, like he originally pitched, instead of Devil May Cry, he said, can I do Dino Crisis? And Capcom was like, no. But that was probably more just...
Do we own that?
That's probably more of what it was. Like, no, what we have that? That's ours? Like, no. Like, it was probably more of that. But the thing with Shankar, just before we go to like Nintendo, is, yeah, Shankar, he really wants you to take everything like super seriously. So oh gosh, what was I gonna say? Devil May Cry is bad. It'll come back to me. But yeah, let's go.
We were going to Nintendo now, and I didn't have that pulled up.
No worries. We can at least set it up. Obviously, as everybody has likely seen by now, considering it's about 2 weeks old, we finally got the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, which the hardware itself looked really cool. It's obviously just an upgraded Switch, which I think everybody was sort of expecting. Can't really... I'm hard pressed to think of like a good gimmick that they haven't tried yet, so they're probably still working on that. This is your basic, Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, so on and so forth. With the reveal, the price tag came out, $450. Admittedly, not a bad price for the base console itself. But the problem comes in with Nintendo's regular bullshit of nickel and diming the hell out of their customers. Now, before we even get into the games, the thing that really stands out to me is that there is a proprietary SD card that you have to buy for the Switch, right? Like if you guys have an SD card or a micro SD card, which are universally accepted in pretty much every device, whether it's an Apple or a PC, nope, won't work. You have to go buy a very specific SD card, which I hate when you have to do that. I hated when I had to get a memory card for my PlayStation. I hated when I had to get like the extra hard drive for my Xbox 360. I know I'm just doing like a first world problem thing, but it's stupid. Anyway, then you get to the fact that a lot of the accessories are going to be very specific, like game dependent. In particular, the one I'm talking about are the GameCube controllers. So they're reprinting them, and there's also been, over the years, a couple re-releases, specifically with the Smash Ultimate Bundle. Those won't work on your Switch, like with Switch games or Switch 2 games. Those controllers will now only work with your, if you have Nintendo Switch Online and you play their online GameCube emulator. That's the only time they're going to work. And then, the bigger part of this was the video game prices. We are officially seeing the jump from $70 to an $80 minimum price point for physical and digital games. Possibly there is a $10 discount on that Nintendo is doing for digital titles. That hasn't been confirmed. People are just sort of speculating based on like MSRP uploads. But that's where we are with this thing, is that really cool piece of hardware, very affordable hardware. I really don't think $450 for a game console is that bad. Like that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that, considering what the Switch 2 is able to do. I mean, when I got my Switch, it was like $350 at the time, and $350 is usually the standard for Nintendo consoles. Wii was $350, Switch was $350. I don't remember if the Wii U was $350 or $400. I can't remember. But like with the Wii U though, and it's kind of like this with the PS3 as well, the first ones, is that they were fully backwards compatible. With in the case of the Wii U, you could play your Wii games on there. I think you could play your GameCube discs on there too, if I remember correctly.
You could.
And then PS3, the first ones were, it was like one of the first Blu-ray players. The Blu-ray players were expensive at the time. And you were able to play PS3, PS2, and PS1 games, like no problem. Yeah, you had to upgrade your hard drive, but Sony gave you instructions on how to do it. You could add your own solid state hard drive. You weren't that was the Xbox.
That was very nice that you could use like Western Digital, just go get an external hard drive and that works. That was really nice.
Yeah, and I think you could still do that for you could do it for PS4. I don't.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely kept that like going forward. They also made it. I know for like the PS4, you could just go buy like a regular solid state drive and like throw that. Like I did that, and
it was the same thing for PS3 too. You could buy a solid state.
That's what I thought. Yeah, you didn't have to like get the PlayStation hard drive or whatever it was, right? You could just whatever hard drive. But yeah, to your point, Nerdigans, like. Especially like not even thinking about the Nintendo console specifically, but look at, their competitors, whether it's the Xbox or PlayStation or even a Steam Deck, which is really far out there. Those are like $600, $700, $800. Those are really, really pricey. So $450, that's a little bit pricier, but that slots in it's still a good spot. But those games, that is an absolutely bonkers like move. $80 and I want to keep it short because I could go for this for years, but the two main things I want to bring up is that, or my two main issues with this is one, I see a lot of people bringing up ads from the 90s, right? Or the 80s going, but look, video games have been this expensive before. And you see things like Final Fantasy 1 is $80 or Mortal Kombat 3 is $90 for the SNES. And that is true. And a lot of people go, and if you factor in inflation, we're still paying less. The problem is, guys, we are in a completely different like production ecosystem than we were in the 90s. In the 90s, video games had a low install base. They were pretty niche. They were making these on cartridges, which are just way more expensive to produce because you've got to do all the plastic like housing for the chip. And they, you know, it was very limited where they were selling them. Toys R Us, if you were lucky, maybe a Sears. Nowadays, it is a global industry with supply chains all over where it is easier than ever to print a copy of a game or to get your game into a store. There is no justifiable reason for Nintendo to say $80 is what you should be paying us. To that end, what really worries me is that I know a lot of people, and I could even entertain some of these arguments. A lot of people have been arguing, you know, it's Nintendo. I would gladly pay $80 for a Nintendo game. And at a certain point, I do agree. If we're doing, you know, paying based on what I'm getting, I could understand paying $80. But like even putting aside my previous argument, the problem is once Nintendo does it, everybody is going to do it. And know what Ubisoft, EA, all of them are going to start charging you $80 for games that are way buggier, way less complete, way worse than they were 10 years ago. I know that Doug Bowser came out, I believe it was today, and said something about, oh, you know, the prices aren't set in stone. We're experimenting. We're going to look at, you know, variable pricing. And even that like doesn't help because then like who gets to decide the variables? And knowing Nintendo, they don't discount things ever. Right? Like if I wanted to go,
well, they do on Black Friday. I've gotten like Nintendo, like I'm talking first party titles too.
Right. No, I am too. I am too. And you're right. But let me correct that because you are technically right. But when Nintendo discounts things, it tends to only be maybe 20%. Like you do get a little bit off. But you know, if I went to buy, just because this is at the top of my head, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, when that goes on sale, that thing's going to be like 60% off, and that'll be a big thing. Nintendo will go, oh, do you want Super Smash Brothers Melee, the hit from 20 years ago? $60, please. Oh, never mind. It's a Golden Week. $55, please. Like they do not lower their prices ever. So this is one of those. This is one of those situations of just like immense corporate greed. And I wish I had a solution. I don't.
This right here is IGN asked Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser about GameCube coming to Nintendo Switch online on the Switch 2. He said, "We know the GameCube has a lot of fans and we're happy to deliver." When asked if Super Smash Brothers Melee would be coming as well, he said, "I'm going to kill you."
I would imagine that was that is my headcanon for how he actually reacted.
You know, and that's never ever. But you got a better chance of Elvis rising from the grave or returning from his homeworld, however you like to do it. But Doug Bowser also came out and said, by the way, if you can't afford a new Switch, we're not going to get rid of the old Switch, so you can collect all the Switchy things you like and the backwards compatible games we're making.
Nerdigans, you'll remember this because you are our font of knowledge. Like to this end, who was it that did that before? There was another console that was like, you can't afford the PS3 or the Xbox One. You've still got like the PS2. Like there was another company that did this. I know it. And it
was Xbox, wasn't it?
It's gotta be. I feel like
Xbox.
They came out with like the S1, and then they were like, by the way, you could just do the regular old Xbox.
I think that's what I cannot remember. Somebody probably in the chat is probably getting us right now. But
yeah, there it is. Timon has it with he has it with Xbox.
Yeah, I knew,
okay, yes.
Yeah, because I was like, I didn't think that was the case for Sony because Sony
I just couldn't remember like who specifically it was.
Dan
and
Matrick.
Sony has started like
Don Matrick.
Don Matrick.
Well, the only thing Sony fucked up in terms of like the backwards compatibility is of course the PS4. I'm still furious I can't play my PS3 games on there. Or my brother's PS2 games for that matter.
Yeah. But like that never in the history of anything has, you know, like this is basically that Diablo moment where the Diablo Immortal developer was like, look, Diablo Immortal for mobile. And everybody went, brrr! And he went, what, you guys don't have phones? Except this is worse because he's saying like, just go buy the cheaper one, you peasant. Like, I don't care about like, it is insane seeing the hype go up for Nintendo during that direct like a week ago and how fast it has just like shot down with every single media appearance that comes out of this company.
Like all they had to do, at least in my opinion, especially for it to be worth the price, is not only have it backwards compatibility with Switch, but with DS too. That would have been nice to have, but
That
we
would be
can't
nice.
have nice things like that.
That would be nice. That's a little more complicated because it's 2 different cartridge architecture, and so you're essentially asking like something to play an N64 and an SNES. Like,
well, like in the case of the DS, though, what I was thinking was they could have like kind of like what they did for the GameCube adapters, like have just a separate piece to attach to it, and then you could.
That would be cool. I would always be up. I'm always up for mobile adapters to main consoles, like big TV. You know what I mean? Like
we saw it with the PlayStation too. I mean, we saw it with PS Vita and stuff like that. I feel like that's what kind of Nintendo was trying to do in a way, is something akin to the PS Vita, but you still have like somewhat have physical cartridges, whereas the Vita, it was all digital games. That's what it kind of feels like for the Vita.
Vita has physical, because I have a big collection of physical Vita cartridges.
Oh, I thought maybe there was a model of Vita that was all digital only then.
Well, there was the PSP Go, which was the one before the Vita.
That's what I was thinking of. PSP
it was like
Go,
the Game Boy Micro, right? Like at the end of the PSP's life, and that one was digital only. But then Vita was,
I think that was the one I was thinking
best
of.
like handheld console ever. But no, like to your point, Nerdigans, I think again, I don't think the issue here really is with the console. Yes, backwards compatibility would be super nice, and I will always beat my chest for it, because I think that is just, opens up, entire new worlds or of like game libraries and whatnot. But the bigger problem here is just the amount of money they want to milk out of you for all of this. Like Ryan did a good analysis where he's like, if you want a console and then you want to be able to play the Switch online game, so you need a Nintendo Switch online membership, and then you need to buy like a GameCube controller. It amounts, you're already sitting at like $600 right out of the gate, and that's a lot. And then you go, oh, and can you also pay me $80 for a video game? Really? Like, you are asking me a lot. Now, this could open up, this could be good for third-party developers, because if they put their games on the Switch 2 and they go, hey, $30, everybody's going to go, well, at least I finally have something I can afford to play on here. So like that could be an advantage, but like this is just a massive misstep for Nintendo, just like every part of the way. And it really bums me out, because like, guys, like I'm a big advocate of like, vote with your wallet, show them what you want. Even if it's not immediate, we can affect change. And I'll put this out to you guys, like with Nintendo, I feel like they're just going to do what they're going to do. And they have enough market, like specialty and like fanboys, that we could beat our chests all we want. But next month, we're going to get $90 games.
But here's the thing with that, and I said this earlier with Cider about Nintendo games, is that Nintendo usually has a complete game. There's no microtransactions. It's very rare if it's buggy. But to your point, and I mentioned this too, but like with Ubisoft and EA, for example, their games are buggier than hell. They have microtransactions, and it's usually incomplete, which is a major problem. And the other thing I brought up too is with Zelda. Something I heard about with Zelda is that you don't get any of the DLC at all. That's a huge issue.
You do not. Yeah. In case you guys didn't see, they are there is this deal, or this, how do I put this, Nerdigans? So they are making like Switch 2 versions of specific Switch games. They're not like full releases. Basically, if you buy a Nintendo Switch 2 Breath of the Wild, it's going to be the Breath of the Wild Switch cart and then a code to get the Switch 2 upgrade. It's this weird system. But yeah, to your point, Nerdigans, Breath of the Wild, and I believe Tears. No, I don't think Tears has it yet. But Breath of the Wild has like 3 DLC packs. None of them are included. So you have to buy that and then buy it some more. Like this is,
that's where I don't justify that price. That's where I don't justify. If it had all the DLC in there, then I could be like, okay, I see what you're doing. And if you have, and that includes the upgrade and everything, okay, that I could see working. But like, or hell, even I said it last week, a bundle with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and that would be the only reason I would accept them not including the DLC is if it's bundled with Tears of the Kingdom. That I think is.
But you have to buy them separately.
But you have to buy them separately. That's the thing that's dumb. No, I'm just saying in an ideal world.
Oh, no, I know.
Like
I was just
Nintendo
confirming, like,
used-
they've already
yeah,
said
yeah.
that.
But Nintendo used to do. I mean, remember with the GameCube, you got the Zelda collection. With the Wii, you got Wii Sports. Here, you got to buy the Mario Kart bundle, which, from what I've seen, the price for that is actually not bad.
Well, the price for that bundle is still just the base price of the Switch 2 plus the $80 price tag for Mario Kart. So,
I
like,
thought it was discounted by like a little bit.
if it is, it's by like maybe $10, if that.
Yeah.
But it's not like super significant. But oh gosh, what was I gonna say? It's like even with all that DLC and stuff, I still just can't see $80, especially when like this has been a sticking point for me for a long time, ever since we started having digital games. Like, that costs you so little to put your game out on the digital storefront, right? Like, yeah, you have to pay like licensing or whatever to get the approval or to go through that thing. But after that, it's just up there. People can download it. There is no limit on how much can be sold, and you don't have to produce anything, right? If I sell 100 copies of Mario Kart physical versus 100 copies of Mario Kart digital, I'm making way more on digital because I didn't have to spend that money to print it, to smash it onto a disc, to have it shipped out to stores. So just like this price point altogether, like it does not work for me. You could make some justifications, and like I said, I could understand. I can understand. Or what's the right word? Like, I would entertain arguments about like paying based on like what you're getting, but it's just I can't get behind this. It just sucks.
Yeah, the Pokemon games, that gets pretty expensive pretty quick. And as Leslie explained, having multiple kids and they all want to Switch 2 of their own, that's gonna get hefty.
Yeah, like this is who was I talking to? I believe I was talking to Timon the other week, but like he was saying, when he was growing up, his parents are teachers. There is no way he and his like 4 brothers would have been able to afford this. Like, maybe their parents got him the console, but good luck. Like, do you guys remember being kids? Hey mom, can I get like a new video game? How much is it going to cost? $50. Maybe if you do some extra chores. Cool. Hey mom, can I, and now like think about it today. Hey mom, can I get a new video game? How much is it? $80. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, go to your room. Like, I would be, it's just way too cost prohibitive, especially again, like as we go into a global point of like, stocks are falling and money is, and I'm not even trying to make this political. It's just a statement of fact. Like, we're in for we're in for this crazy period right now. It's rough. Like I don't know how anybody is, unless you are like a single stream content creator, how are you going to be able to justify affording this like right now? I don't know.
Like the other thing that came to mind too is, for me, when I saw this, is like collector's editions. Like when I was at GameStop, they started at like what, $70, and you still got you got like digital codes and stuff like that.
No, dude, that is like 20 years ago. Like $70 for a collector's edition. I wish that's what it still was.
That's what it was.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, and I know you're going to keep going, but I'm like, dude, I wish.
But like, if you were selling if Nintendo was selling $80 collector's editions, then, and that includes like all the DLC, like and that includes future DLC too.
Yeah.
That and an online pass because like, Mario Kart Online.
Yeah.
Then that justifies an $80, maybe $90 price point. But other than that, it doesn't.
But and then like to your point, Nerdigans, like, so Mario Kart, when you pay that $80 for Mario Kart, you're going to get the base game. Of course there's going to be DLC. Like, so at the end of the day, you're going to be paying $150 just for the complete Mario Kart experience. Like, that's kind of nuts to me. Like that's just I know a lot of people give Nintendo a leeway because their games are so good, but like, this is still highway robbery.
Yeah, it is. That's why I said, if you do a collector's edition where it's get all the DLC, future and current, then yeah, that would be worth the $80. But Nintendo is not doing that. No, they're just giving you the base game. But a lot of the games, to be fair, are complete. Like, from as far as I know, Donkey Kong's not going to get DLC.
No,
I doubt that.
Well, it still could. Like, that's the thing. Is like you might have a Nintendo sort of sticks to the old school way of DLC, right? You have your complete game. You beat Donkey Kong, you're good. You beat Breath of the Wild, you're good. DLC is extra, and it might, give you more adventures to do. And maybe like in Breath of the Wild, it gives you more time to interact with the cast, but it's not essential, right? Like there's a lot of games we know where you go, we've gotten to the end, wait for the first DLC pack, and then you get to know what happened to whoever. And it's like, really? Like that's what we're doing? But even with them being complete, like there is no justification for $80 video games. Like it just doesn't exist.
Yeah, everything's going up to an absurd degree at this point, and this is just another example of it. I mean, even in kind of the sports world right now, the UFC, if you guys are following this story, ESPN's probably going to drop them at the end of this year because, it's because they signed on to a deal a number of years ago. It's like $300 million a year. Plus they get like a pretty decent share of like the pay-per-view buys. The pay-per-view buys for the UFC have been absolutely atrocious because ever since they started that deal, the prices for pay-per-view have now shot up to $80 per month, right?
They are.
And no one's paying $80 a month for a modern UFC pay-per-view with the current rate. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Right? Like they'll put it on the TV and okay, great. I didn't have to pay. I can spend that $80 on food or beer.
Exactly. But a lot of things are in entertainment world is like going up like that. Ticket prices are skyrocketing. Everything else is just going up like that. That's kind of where it is. And you've pushed people to a point where now they have to draw a line in the sand about whether it's even worth it to invest the money into certain forms of entertainment now, because it's like, you've really priced a lot of fans out of their favorite hobbies entirely. We've seen this in kind of sports. People say
Lego, dude. Like that's the one I always think of. Like we used to be able to get those big buckets of like random things or for like $15, and then like the small Star Wars kits like 20.
And then once it started becoming like a collector's issue, then all of a sudden the markup was insane.
Well, they do like they have like the big Black series or whatever it is, like their premiere one, and they always go like, here's this new Lego flower like in a vase, and I go like, that's cool. I bet kids would love to build that. $900. Like, man, get the hell out of my face.
Yeah. No.
And they rarely lower the price too, which is just insane. You need to find like from my experience, it's mainly on Black Friday that's when you get everything for cheap, or Cyber Monday.
Yeah, you've got to be really like conscious about sales. But like to Jacob's point, I think that is sort of the reality of the Nintendo, the WWE, all of this discussion is like, you could sit here all day and go, look at how, inflation has changed and you're actually paying the right price. And you could have all of these really intricate and true explanations. But at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is what people are seeing in front of them. And if they see $80 over $60, they're not going to be happy about it. It does not matter how much like discourse you try to give them. They're going to go, I'm paying $20 more. Screw you.
Yeah. And it's not worth it at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to.
But in terms of UFC, they're going to be losing money because people are just pirating.
Well, so the move here, this is part of the second part of the story, is that the belief is that TKO is going to move UFC to Netflix. We've talked about over the course of the last year how Netflix severely overpaid WWE to get Raw to move there. So they're probably going to end up paying even more money for the UFC to get there. So it's like everyone's failing upward right now because, by the way, WWE has now been on Netflix on Raw for a good solid 3 months now. And they're basically averaging less viewers for the Raw show on Netflix they were doing on the USA Network. By the way, the USA Network was only paying them, I think, about $230 million a year for Raw. Netflix is paying them more than double what they're getting. They're getting less viewers than they were getting. And keep in mind, these are global numbers.
These are global?
Yeah, so put it to you this way. On USA Network, Raw was averaging roughly about 1.5 million viewers per week.
And that was
on
local,
Netflix,
right? like USA was only
that was USA, only the United States. Now that they're on Netflix, they're averaging 3 million views because it's not actual viewers, it's views.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
basically
yeah.
it's counted like, YouTube videos, but they're averaging 3 million views a week globally. So the metric has expanded to not just Monday night, an entire week, 7 days, and then the
Yeah.
entire nation is counted. I mean, the entire world is counted, and they're still only averaging 3 million views a week.
That's not.
And
That
Netflix paid them more money than anyone was ever going to consider paying WWE for this deal, and it's blown up in their face so far.
No, it's that joke you and I keep making where it's like, we'll start the bidding for WWE at $1, 500 million. That's not how this 600 million. All right.
Oh yeah, okay. Like I say, it even goes back to like the whole Luka Doncic trades to the Lakers. It's like, and if you guys are in the sports world, that's like the big story. He went back to Dallas tonight. You can tell he had no plans of leaving whatsoever. It's the most inexplicable, stupid trade in the history of sports. You would give up your 25-year-old superstar star player
Like
to
prospect,
the Lakers. Just to get absolutely fleeced in the worst trade in all time. Like I said, we're just at a point now where, like, on a corporate level with all these companies and franchises and whatever the case may be, no one's making any logical moves right now. It's like, it's really just the wild west of stupidity across the board at this point.
No, and that is why Minecraft works, right? Like, it's just throw it out there. Why not? This is chaos times. Something was going to hit.
And why this didn't work. So Marvel's
boy.
director came out and said, BT Dubs, that's not what I made. It's not what I pitched. And the editors decided what it was when you saw it.
I'm like, not even surprised. Go ahead.
Well, this is what James Gunn told us. As you remember, this is what James Gunn told us, is they have you film a billion different things and then they strip it together and you get to find out at the premiere what exactly became of your movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that's what Zack Snyder found out about the Justice League. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Well, the difference there is that when Zach was at least because don't get me wrong, as much as Zach is kind of a knob, that situation, like, he got done really dirty by WB, them using the untimely death of his daughter against him to kick him out and replace him with Joss Whedon, like, complete insult. But the difference is, when Zach was there, Zach was in charge, right? Like, we see the grim, dark designs on Steppenwolf. We see the attempt at a more realistic Superman. So, like, his ideas and stuff, and I mean, like, we saw like a Snyder cut eventually. So, like, he got his ideas out there. With Marvel movies, like Gunn said, and we've seen this with actually the first Captain Marvel movie, The Marvels, Eternals, Black Widow. All of these movies, Marvel like taps these directors and says, look, we have Chloe Zhao. She's amazing. Academy Award winner. And then they don't really let you do anything outside of like, go and cut. Right. Because I bring this up a lot, but the Black Widow director, she's a really, really good, she does a lot of like female centric, psychological type films, which is fine. Like, if that's what she wants to make, she's not, using Superman to do it or anything. Like, go ahead and make what you want to make. They said, hey, do you want to come do Black Widow? And she said, you know what? I've never had the chance to do like a more action oriented thing. I would actually love to do that. I'd love to see if I can do that in my style, how I can marry it. And she went to the studios on like the first day and she had notes and she's like, I read a bunch of comics. I did a bunch of this stuff. This is what I think. Like, I have some good ideas for action. And Feige or whoever it was like, they looked at her like, huh? And then they went, oh, no. That's already 90% done, like, by the VFX team. That's not what you're working on. And she, in post-release interviews, she's like, it was the worst. Like, what was I even there for? And like, I'm sure that whatever Nia DaCosta, well, let me ask you, Jacob, did you see Candyman? Like the reboot?
Jacob?
I don't know if you can hear me.
If they just like, if I just ignored them long enough.
Nobody asked him a question.
This is actually something I was going to bring up too. It's like, are we going to do that whole, Schneider cut? What's the other guy's cut? The air cut. And it's like, look, I get it. Disney screwed you. At the end of the day, I don't think there's a single person out there that's angling for the DaCosta cut of this movie. It's like, you know,
That's literally, you and I were on the same wavelength, because I set that up because I was going to be like, I don't think like this wasn't going to be better, right? Like,
no, exactly.
Or if it was better, it wasn't like significantly better. Maybe they cut all that stuff with the cats, but they didn't like they didn't magically give us another Guardians of the Galaxy or something. So like, this was probably always bad. But what I mostly enjoy about this story, well, as crappy as I find most of her projects, like that just sucks for Nia DaCosta. That's not fun for anybody. But I love, if you go and you read the actual Deadline interview where she's talking. So she appeared at a screenwriting festival, which was like, you got workshops, you can talk with people. And she was giving a talk, and somebody asked like, hey, how was your experience working on the Marvels compared to your regular stuff? And she gives very diplomatic answers, like, oh, it was such a different ecosystem. I needed to like adjust. I needed to like, one day I learned that my cut wasn't the one that was going to make it, and it just took me a moment to accept it and remember like this was how they do it. It's very
I'm still
like
getting paid.
That's it. Yeah, I'm like, I laughed while reading that interview, because I'm like, you can actually feel the seething. Like, she's mad, but whether it's money or like, I don't want to blow up my potential in Hollywood, she's being very diplomatic about it. But she does interject that like at the when they wrapped, like when she was done and it was going back to like post-production for VFX or whatever, she texted her like her producing partner, and she was like, that like independent film I've been working on for like 10 years, we're making that next month, because I am so insanely unfulfilled with this movie. And I'm just like, oof. Like we all probably knew that, but just to have it actually in like writing is just like,
you'd have to come out and say it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you really feel.
Right? And I'm just like, who, like, just all, I can't look at anything out of that studio anymore without rolling my eyes and just not being excited about anything.
But something that this kind of makes me think of is there was an interview with Hideki Anno, and one of the questions he was asked was like, what's the difference between live action and anime? And another one was, what's the difference between indie and commercial films? And he said, like, with commercial films, he has no creative freedom. He can't do what he wants. But and he's beholden to like making the most money possible. With indie films, it's like the complete opposite. He wants to make something with this group of people that they all enjoy and that they want to be proud of. And it's just so interesting that we're seeing what we're seeing here in the Western industry in terms of like commercial versus indie is basically what's happening in Japan with one of the biggest directors in the world.
No, you're like, that is the thing I've been harping on a lot recently, is that push to corporatism from every hobby, it's killed all of our creativity. Or not our creativity, but the creative potential for all of these IPs for any project, because it goes from let's take a risk on something to, oh my God, we need to have Jurassic Park 9 because we need to make money. And that's why things like, Spider-Man, he's never allowed to, grow up past I'm a loser who lives at home with no job, because that's the version that is marketable, that people know. So he'll be stuck there forever. We don't matter. Marvel assumes we're going to be there. We're going to tune in for everything. It's all the people. It's that magical audience that they think doesn't know about the MCU.
Well, and that's probably a good way to end it, because a magical audience that doesn't know about the MCU certainly knows about Chicken Jockey, and they are tearing apart movie theaters over it. But that'll probably close it out for us here on 01 tonight. We've been headed into this for about 4 hours now, and over here on the East Coast,
you guys have been going.
It's headed into midnight. So
yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
I'm kind of losing my voice as we're going here. So, Miss Nerdigans, when the show is over, where do we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Nerdigans Inc., where I'm covering anime and manga every day. I am planning to do like a video on the Toei situation, because it's really, really important. I'm I got to talk. Spencer and I got to talk about Crunchyroll though, because I really
Yeah.
need to cover that.
We were talking like a little bit, but then it was like, oh, stream time. So yeah, we'll get back onto it.
Yeah, so stay tuned to Bounding in the Comics for that. In terms of my Twitter, you can follow me there. I'm tweeting like various news. Like one story would be like, and I was hoping we'd talk about it during the Netflix, but we got so caught up. Is the Moonrise executive producer or Moonrise producer came out and said that Netflix isn't marketing his anime, and he's pretty much pissed, and he's relying on everyone else to spread the word, which is a goddamn shame.
Do you remember when they did that with Dan to Dan?
Yep. It was for Crunchyroll. It was definitely with Dan to Dan because of it seemed like the marketing person was still in bed with Netflix. But
that was weird. Where it was like, if you guys remember, if you're an anime fan, when Dan to Dan's first season was airing, you might remember like every time it was like watch Dan to Dan on Netflix or Hulu. Never like I think I was talking to you, Nerdigans. It was like 4 episodes in. I was like, wait a minute. What do you mean Crunchyroll? And you're like, it's a Crunchyroll, or like a Crunchyroll first thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then we like looked at it and we were like, what the hell? Like, why don't
the same thing with Sakamoto Days too?
Yeah.
But Netflix actually, I think, marketed Sakamoto Days a little bit better.
A little bit.
Yeah. And then on Patreon, patreon.com/PackerGirl, we're covering Dragon Ball Super's English dub. We're going to finish that up. We're covering Fire Force season 3 because there's some really, really good arcs in the manga getting adapted. Hopefully it's not a clusterfuck like the first episode was. Oh my God, I'm so pissed about that. I'm covering Witch Watch, which, the manga kind of predicted how this anime was going to go down, and I was worried about it. But yeah, he was right. If you've read, I think it's chapter 167 of the manga, where the main character Moi goes into he's in the anime verse, and he jumps back out, and you see it in the actual opening song, which I think is cool. But yeah, you see that he has like less detailing on him. And the anime is not like as witty as it is in the manga, so it's like, yeah, it's one of the situations where we got the prediction where it came out. The other one I'm covering, which I'm going to be doing an article on too, is Vigilantes, Boku no Hero Academia Legals, aka My Hero Academia Vigilantes, because yeah, the censorship is here. It really is, and it's a damn shame. And I've had people tell me,
did you just say they changed its name?
No, I'm saying they censored it.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Spencer Pop stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I like zoned out for a second. So I thought it was like My Hero Academia. They changed that last word. And I'm like, really? Vigilantes is too much of a word now? But I'm just dumb.
No, illegals isn't in there though, for at least the Western version. But and we're going to be keeping an eye out for Lady Midnight, because there's a good chance that her skimpiest outfit is probably going to be censored. So make sure you guys.
If Pop Step got hit, absolutely.
Oh yeah, if you've read Vigilantes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to be, for Bounding, I'm covering the One Piece situation with Ishitani, which we covered here. And as I said, I'm going to be covering the Pop Step situation. And we'll be keeping our eye out for more content as well.
All right. And Jacob, where do we find you after the show's over?
You can find me over at Society Reviews. As you guys know, I had to skip a show last night because I had a family emergency. Working out some things right now. It's going to be a little bit of an on and off time, but as far as the barroom goes, as long as everything goes well, there's no other sudden hiccups. I do plan on doing that show on Saturday night at 8 p.m. I will push back the Bible Ins for this week to next week's. It's the next Sunday show, so there won't be a Bible Ins this coming Sunday, but there will be one.
This is when you go back and you cut up your old streams and you give your best of.
And just see if people could caught on to the fact that, wait, I think we've seen this one before.
Yeah. Do a whole live premiere and everything, and just
yeah. But so yeah, I'm gonna be focused. I'm gonna be a little bit scattered here the next a couple of weeks because we're trying to get things together. But I thank all you guys for reaching out to me. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm not down on anything like right now. I do want to get back to work. I do want to stay focused on things, in times like this. I think it's easier just to move forward and not dwell on things. I'm not the type of person who's going to sit back and like mope around for like several days and go all woe is me and stuff like that. It's like, look,
that's my job.
Yeah, right. But you know, things are progressing forward. But you know, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and I like to keep that in this perspective of everything that I do here too. So, like I said, I'll keep you guys posted on everything that's going on. But you know, I'll try to get everything back on track as soon as I can. So that's what I got happening here. Cider, me and our show might be pushed back just a little bit because you know I got some things to work out there. But I do plan on putting that show out once we get it off because I think it's going to be a great show when we get it done. So that's all that I have to say at the moment.
All right, man. And Spencer, where do we find you when the show's over?
Yeah, as always, guys, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I know we as Cider noted, we did go a little long, but I thought it was really good. We were having a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys were hanging out with us. Hope to see you again, same bat time, same bat channel next week for another episode of 01. Until then, check us out every day on boundingintocomics.com. Cider will let you know what he's got over here on our YouTube channel, which you guys should be looking at equal parts. It is one part YouTube channel, one part website. And I don't know why I brought that up. It's because I was thinking earlier today. I was like, people don't understand. Like, I get asked a lot, like, you didn't cover this, you didn't cover that. And I'm like, we did. Cider covered it. He is on our team. He's on the YouTube channel. So that was just my little weird rant. But until then, yeah, boundingintocomics.com. Thanks for hanging out with us. And Cider, take it away.
As always, guys, you check us out here on YouTube. We're covering everything under the sun, and we'll catch you on the flip side.